on the line for the stars of the SAAC Cup Series as we go all-star racing on the KBueno Racing Network. Welcome to the virtual Nashville Super Speedway for the Season 5 SAAC All-Star Race. I'm Nate Polite alongside Kenneth Bueno. Glad you all could join us tonight. Kenneth, we sit at an interesting point in this season. After tonight, it's mid-season madness, and then time for the Eliminator Chase.
And this is, Nate, just a bit of a break that these drivers get to have. A bit of fun, there's money on the line, but overall you can let those shoulders rest down on your side just a little bit more than you would on the grueling regular season that we've had so far, and have a bit of off time to have some fun, drive behind the racetrack, and just enjoy the night overall with your competitors before eventually they become some of your closest enemies in that mid-season madness bracket tournament.
Yeah, that mid-season madness tournament, well, it's madness for a reason, and might be out of March, but the madness is going to continue well through April. We start next week at Bristol before rolling onto the road course at Circuit of the Americas, Charlotte Motor Speedway rounded out in the bracket and in the regular season at Phoenix Raceway. 4 very different tracks, Kenneth. How's that going to play into the entire identity of this tournament?
Well, in the mindset of a driver, you have to be on all your 10 toes the entire time. It's really hard when you have multiple of these different disciplines thrown at you, let alone a dirt derby at Bristol dirt that you kind of have to get over before the Eliminator Chase begins. I mean, it's a hard selection of tracks. Bristol, we know, gets very physical, very chaotic. Circuit of the Americas isn't necessarily an easy road course to drive either. You have to be very technical, built for F1, but NASCAR Cup Series cars race on it, so you have to find that little detail in your driving style to refine and get ready for a race like that. And then you've got Charlotte Motor Speedway. I mean, that is the pinnacle of mile-and-a-half racing in NASCAR Cup Series history, and in this SAAC Cup Series, we had a stellar race there earlier last season with Ethan Fonseca Moreno and Malachi Drake in his strategy plays. So if I'm a driver here in the midseason madness, I gotta be right focused, mental acuity at an all-time high at all times, and that's why maybe tonight you run this one a little easier.
Yeah, and as chaotic as that bracket is going to be, nothing will quite be as chaotic as the race we had last Thursday night at Talladega Super Speedway. It's a beast for a reason. Justin Rott, James Bomar on the front row, leading the field to the green flag, and it would not take long for the party to get started on the boulevard.
Definitely didn't. I mean, you're running here at Talladega at around 190, 200 miles an hour in the draft, and these drivers showed no fear, Nate. They were all over the place, making big moves. Connor Trafari was not going to give up the top spot. Neither was AJ Hyder. We had some big pushes, but of course, when you have close racing, you're going to have some contact. That's Austin Duran, Justin Rock getting sent around, and Nate, this was all about drivers doing whatever they could to run up at the front, at the cost, of course, of some of that chaos.
Yeah, one of those heavily damaged cars in that incident, Justin Rott, hurt his chase standings just a little bit, but also would have impact on the field later on in the race. You see this 3-wide battling. It's all fine and dandy when you're like this, but when you try to get around that slow car, chaos breaks loose. Cody Riveras got turned up in front of the field, and as they all tried to get by Justin Rott, going slower lap down, this is on board with Chris Downey. Spin right in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yep, and of course we would talk about him later, which is funny enough. It's something crazy about Talladega is that you can crash as a driver. You can feel like you're down and out, and then all of a sudden you give it 30 to 40 laps, you got a car that's mostly repaired, and you can still run in the draft. So we'll figure that out, but that was all what was going down at the front. Just a lot of the movement, Luke Mahone and company going up to the front. And then eventually, Nate, the mindset turns from racing aggressively at the front to, oh, we need a pit stop to be able to make it to the end.
Yeah, and after those pit stops, Andretti Robinson was in a good position. That's because he got knocked out of line this late in the race. Brian Lorenzo gets slowed up in the middle of the racetrack and nowhere to go for the drivers behind him. He gets spun out to the outside wall. That brings us down late in the race, and another crash. Justin Rott again with Ryan Jones, and that brings us to the dreaded overtime at Talladega, which chaos always tends to ensue, but sometimes it's just a little bit stranger. Coming to their first overtime, James Bomar in the catbird seat getting pushed by Steven Maggio, and then all of a sudden, bumper glitch, boom. Back into the field goes Maggio, and this wasn't the big one, Kenneth. This was the huge one, and look, right in all of that again, Chris Downey. And why do we keep talking about him, Kenneth? Because of what you're about to see after all this came out in the second overtime. James Bomar again out in front. Brad Sawinski to his outside. Everyone staying nice and tight. Look who it is. The 27 of Chris Downey dives inside of Brad Sawinski as they go through turns 3 and 4, rides that painted black and yellow line. Everybody crashes in his rearview mirror, and James Bomar was content to push his good buddy right across the stripe. First career SAAC Cup Series win in just his 6th career start.
That's wonderful. I mean, he missed out on Adelaide, a driver who in his rookie season has been just trying to get back at it. He told us in that moment it wasn't his really rookie season because he had been competing in SAAC Cup Series races before, but to still get your first career victory in the way that he did it, getting damaged early in the race, didn't think he would have a shot, and then all of a sudden he was that lead car with a wonderful move in turns 3 and 4. It's just fantastic when you finally get that first win, and it keeps you up in momentum for the rest of the races that follow.
And he really wasn't afraid to get just a little bit physical with Brad Sawinski. But now let's turn things over to a guy we talked about a little at Talladega in that highlight package. James Bomar has been phenomenal in recent weeks. It started at Kentucky, started on the front row, led the field to the green flag, and dominated the first half of the race. Field flipped on him during the pit cycles, but ultimately came home with a P3 finish behind AJ Hyder and Gabriel Dahari. Not a bad day at the office, and certainly made much better by what he did the very next week at Pocono Raceway. Was just the fastest, got around to the front, and left the field in its dust.
Yeah, and he was wonderful at Pocono Raceway. That tricky triangle was all of his to take, and Bomar getting his first win at that point since Chicagoland. But you think of how consistent he's been over the last 4 races. 3 of them have been top 5 finishes. He was just right behind the chaos that unfolded at Talladega Superspeedway last week. Adelaide is his only blemish. The fight starting in P6, he rallied back to a top 20, but still led laps at Talladega, ran up at the front, and James Bomar, Nate, has already cemented himself as a possible early championship contender.
Yeah, and he was battling with Connor Trafari, among that lead group at the top of the pecking order in the point standings, of course. Not points racing tonight per se, but certainly going to be a nice exhibition match of sorts to prepare these drivers for what's next.
Yeah, it'll be really good. And for Bomar, I'd imagine, locked into this All-Star main, has nothing to worry about, can just watch the drivers go at it in the open race. And we mentioned how Connor Trafari last season picked up consistent finish after consistent finish, and then was really able to rally wins after wins and got really hot at that late end of the regular season. I can imagine almost the same thing happening to James Bomar with how good he's been so far this year.
Consistency is key so often when it comes down to racing in any capacity, and certainly here on iRacing in these leagues, where it's not really about how many races you win, it's about whether or not you can go ahead and point your way into the eliminator chase. It's been the case in SAAC before.
It has, and it's going to be great to see what he's able to do in the following races. But again, we go into that midseason madness bracket, and it's all a one and done. It's just like the regular NCAA tournament. It's one race, and if you cannot beat the driver that you're facing against in a given matchup, it's done. You don't have a chance at the ending prize to make it all the way to the finale. So I think regardless of what's going to go down, and regardless of even if you're a championship contender, Bomar is probably going to be a big-time favorite in that bracket. However, still got to be on all 10 toes. You can't necessarily lay back, even though you've got to win this season. You have to make sure you stay on point.
Yeah, it's another part of not having a win and you're in system, is you have to fight your way into the chase, the old-fashioned way with the points. And you're gonna have to fight your way the old-fashioned way into this all-star race as well through the All-Star Open. 38 laps, the top 3 drivers will advance, including our certified SAAC guy, and the fan vote winners will make it into qualifying. Then we have a 76-lap main, and like I said at the top of the show, $50 go to the victor of the All-Star race.
And then, of course, you have that main flash at the end. That's going to be a long one. And look at the certified SAAC guy contender. So this is a provisional, 1 of 2 tonight that league owner Cody Riveras has told us about. Drivers with 100% attendance can qualify into the race. Those were the drivers then. We've got a fan vote as well, Nate, so the fans can get into it, root for their favorite driver. How many times have we talked about family and friends rooting on their drivers in the sim on a given iRacing broadcast? So these 5 drivers are having the support behind them, and we'll get to see who that fan vote winner is in a bit.
Yeah, it's still an opportunity for fans to make a little bit of a difference on who's going to take to the field tonight. But one of those drivers trying to be the certified SAAC guy is Fidel Fabian, and he's having himself a pretty good season. He joins us now. Fidel, how you doing?
Pretty good.
And you come into this race, again, I know this isn't a points-paying race, but you're in a pretty good spot points-wise. In just in general, 2026 on iRacing has been pretty good to you. How does that feel to finally be turning a corner like that?
Yeah, it feels great. It feels like everything I've been putting into iRacing just been can't find the word for it. Basically, I'm succeeding. At least that what I feel like is success. Not winning pace though, but we'll keep on trying to figure it out. Definitely in 2026. It's been a huge improvement over 2025. All the guys at JMS, they've been helping me out, especially this year, and hopefully throughout the rest of this year can keep on getting better.
And you come into this as a certified SAAC guy contender, 100% attendance, but you're not locked in quite yet. What do you make of your chances in this open race?
I think we got a good top 10 car. I don't think we're going to make the show, but I'm definitely going to go out and try my best, try to learn a few things here and there, and try to figure it out and move on to next week.
Well, Fidel, thank you very much for taking the opportunity to come and join us up in the booth. Good luck tonight.
All right, thank you.
And this is not the first time that we've gone all-star racing in the SAAC Cup Series. A season ago, it was at a track we were at a couple weeks ago, Kentucky Speedway on the old Scan.
All-Star Open Racing for the first time in the SAAC Cup Series on the KBueno Racing Network. Green flag from Kentucky. Malachi Drake off the final corner comes away on a no-stopper to win the All-Star Open from Sparta, Kentucky. Frank and Jurgensmeyer up at the front row. Stock car racing once again tonight. Frank goes underway. We are All-Star Racing from Kentucky, and the pole sitter spins. A big-time checkup and a crash. Steven Maggio, Gabriel Dahari spin off of the checkup off the final corner. Gabriel Dahari wins the Season 4 SAAC Cup Series All-Star Race.
Man, that was honestly pretty fun when everyone green. A couple wrecks there through the middle of that race that just barely squeaked by. If I didn't, then I would not be where I am today.
And Kenneth, you were here for that Kentucky race, the All-Star race, a season ago. And, what do you think coming off of that race, coming into this race? Do you think there's going to be any kind of consistency? These tracks are somewhat similar, right?
Yeah, they are, but this Nashville Superspeedway definitely leans itself to a lot more understeer than oversteer. The big problem that a lot of drivers faced at Kentucky last season was just how bumpy that surface was. I think a lot of drivers kind of underestimated how difficult it was to drive. In the opening lap of the All-Star Open, we had a caution. In the opening lap of the All-Star Main, someone wheel spun from the pole was Devin Frank, who spun from the top spot in the field. And then, of course, we had that restart crash with Steven Maggio and Gabriel Dahari off of a mistake from the shift. So maybe we won't see the exact same kind of difficulties here tonight from Nashville Superspeedway, but it is a relatively hot track temperature, and we know with the brand new 750 horsepower package, you can feel that jolt behind the wheel in the sim, and that leads to a lot more rear tire spin, and it leads, of course, to possibly more chaos, so we could see that again.
Maybe a little bit of fishtailing as they come out of these turns today, just quite possibly. And coming to the Nashville Superspeedway, let's take you back in time to 2023 in Season 6 of 4Wide Racing.
Welcome to a KBRN moment in time. This moment takes us back to 2023 and the 4Wide Racing TJ's Team Series from Nashville. Leading the field from the front in the race where he won for the first time, Kyle Benson on the outside. Green flag in the air, we're racing from Nashville. 4Wide Racing took on the virtual Nashville Superspeedway in the early portions of Season 6 with the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series car. The first segment of the race filled with rocky tunes. Jason Hastings, Adam Alashire, Daniel Michel among those involved in big crashes. But at the front of the field, when it was green, it was fantastic for the lead. TJ Bursk, a winner in Season 6, would take control, and then a big crash would begin behind him. Mikey Neal and several others involved in the biggest crash of the night, and that is where veteran Lawson Peel took center stage. diving underneath Trevor Haley for the lead, but bringing a rookie, Luke Knupp, right behind him in his coattails. With 32 laps to go, Knupp made his move, diving to the inside of Peel in the middle of 3 and 4, and as he nosed ahead in the few laps after that, he never looked back. Knupp rallying out of turn 4, taking his first career 4-wide racing victory at the Music City and establishing not only himself, but KBueno Racing as an early championship contender. And that's today's KBRN Moment in Time.
We can only hope for a race as good as that one here tonight from Nashville. Of course, that one in the now O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars, us in the Cup cars today. Take a look at the nice racetrack, 1.33 miles in Lebanon, Tennessee, despite what the name might tell you. But Kenneth, this is a bit of a beast.
Yeah, I like to think of this track as a venue with history in tens. It opened in 2001, had IndyCar racing there, had NASCAR racing there, closed in 2011 after a few good races, and then reopened 10 years after the fact. The Cup Series making their triumphant debut to this track. It's a concrete intermediate oval, so it's very different from a lot of other venues that we see on the schedule. And as a driver, you kind of like these venues a little bit. They're very unique. They cater to a very specific type of driver. And with the way this surface is, as hot as it can get, and as worn down as it has been over the last few years, you can get these cars loose, and it's going to be about who can be the most disciplined on their set of Goodyear Eagles.
Yeah, and the crucial difference between this and just about every other track that we go to intermediate-wise is concrete compared to asphalt. Got a really good couple of races on tap for you. First the Open, then the main event. Don't go anywhere. We got the grid and the green flag next on the KBueno Racing Network.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
These Pop-Tarts are tasty.
Maybe Pop-Tarts do belong on the tailgate table.
Pop-Tarts, a lineup you can eat. There's only one fuel that can drive the performance you demand from your car. New 94 Octane, the highest octane on the market, only at Sunoco.
Welcome back to the Nashville Super Speedway. It's the SAAC All-Star Race, the 1.33-mile concrete behemoth in Lebanon, Tennessee. I'm Nate Polite alongside Kenneth Bueno, just about ready to get things started for the All-Star Open, Kenneth.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of fun, and when you're a driver in this Open, you understand there's not that much to lose. It's just $50. Well, maybe to some drivers, $50 is a lot more worth than anything else, but for the most part, you're kind of coming into this kind of relaxed. You want to make your name known, of course. You want to qualify in the top 3. You're going to see a bit of that difference in drivers who take that first stint a little more calmly than others who are going to be a lot more aggressive, but maybe that more relaxed nature is naturally going to make the drivers more aggressive, but it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, and another thing that I always love about these open races is it's oftentimes the guys that don't usually compete for wins that are going to have a chance to go out there and win in the Open, as we get to go ahead and take a look at our starting grid for the All-Star Open. It is a guy that is used to winning that stands on the front row. Micah Walls, not to be confused with his grid mate, Ellis Wells, in row 1, then back behind them. In row 2, Austin Duran and Eric LeBombard. Duran is up there doing pretty nicely. Row 3, familiar face, Francisco Bacallao. He's alongside Brad Sawinski. After that, row 4, Duncan Faw and Nicholas Borowski. Rounding out that top 10, Fidel Fabian, just talked to him, and Jamie Wright.
Back in 11th is one of those certified SAAC guy contenders in Larry Miles. Gabe Cazzola on the outside in 12th position, one of those fan vote drivers. Joaquin Stewart starts in 13th with a 30.863. Luke Mahone led some laps at Talladega last week, and his Chevrolet rounds out the outside of the top 14. Back in row number 8 is Declan George in the 15th spot. Quincy Strawhacker on the outside of him inside the top 16. Row 9 features a multi-time winner this season, James Thurston. No Q effort back in 17th. Chris Downey, the former winner from Talladega just last week, trying to go back-to-back and qualify for the main race. Jonathan Juergensmeyer rolls in 19th, and Shockey Tarpley to the top 20. Behind them, Christopher Robinson 21st, Wyatt Roberts 22nd, Cody Riveras and Ryan Jones bringing our 24-car open. However, qualifying, it appears, shows a full list of drivers, some of them not eligible for the open. So really, when you think about it, we have only 16 cars, as Quincy Strawhacker is the last one in the field.
Yeah, plenty of those drivers we'll be seeing later on tonight. So if you're watching for one of those guys that brought up the rear of that grid, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere, we promise. You'll get to see them for 76 laps on the back end of the night. But now it's the front end of the night. The fun stuff, the open race. All these drivers that have had a tough time this season perhaps, or not been able to climb into that top 12 in points. That's who is locked in the top 12 in points. Any driver that's won this season, all past champions. Amir Vasquez, a winner from last season, and Andretti Robinson also locked in. He was top 10 in points a season ago. Everybody else gets a chance to go in this race, and you mentioned those certified SAAC guys, Kenneth. One of them, Micah Walls, starts on pole. We've documented how his 2026 on iRacing has been tremendous every night but Thursday nights. This has been his Achilles heel all season long. And in the Music City, he's, of course, running a music-themed paint scheme, Bobby Boy Records, on the front of that. He's a big Logic fan. We're also seeing Larry Miles, you mentioned him, Fidel Fabian, another one of those certified SAAC guys in this field. And
when you have a season in SAAC, but you have the remarkable season in other leagues that run the same week, you know, as a driver that can kind of get to, you're thinking, well, what's the remedy here? How do I fix my performance in this league when I've done so well in the others? I mean, he continues to win in the KBueno Truck Series. He continues to run well in the playoffs of the 4Wide Racing Series. On Wednesday nights, he did well. Last night at Talladega Super Speedway. But then you go to this league and you say, well, what's different? What's going on here? But as a driver, you got to stay locked in. You have to maintain your composure. Michael Walls knows very well just how fast he is on iRacing, even when it's in a NASCAR Next Gen Cup car. So he's just got to hone down and find those things that makes him good and stay up in front to qualify for the main race.
And you mentioned, you know, his success in 4Wide and even in the Magic Racing League that runs earlier on in the weeks. Those are both in the Next Gen Cup car as well, so it isn't even confined to this race car. It just seems there's a little bit of voodoo in that 24 team on Thursday nights.
Yeah, it's a different car, it's a different vibe, it's a different MO, it feels, for Michael Walls, but still, having a qualifying effort to be on pole in this All-Star Open, it's going to be very important, because we've talked about how this track, even with the higher horsepower output and lesser downforce, I mean, there's still a lot of dirty air in the mix. So if you are second on back in the middle of track position, you're probably going to have a harder time working your way up through the field. If Michael Walls can clear the field before turn 1 or even outside turn 1, he'll have a really good shot to lead the rest of the way through and be able to win to get into that main race later tonight.
Being in clean air, so important at Nashville Super Speedway. iRacing official pace car pulls into pit road. You want to win $50? You got to get through the open first. Michael Walls, Ellis Wells lead him to the restart zone. The green flag flies. We're racing in Nashville. You already saw them fan out way all the way across every lane of the racetrack. through turns 1 and 2. Michael Walls leads lap 1. Ellis Wells dropped like a rock. He's all the way back into 5th. Francisco Bacalhau moves to the inside of LeBombard, trying to take 3rd away. But LeBombard's making that middle lane work to his credit. Wells trying to do the same thing on the outside of Fall.
I mean, right now, he's just trying to regain all that hemorrhage spots, and there he goes!
Fidel Fabian gets spun up into the outside wall. We got our first incident of the night. On lap 2, it's the man we talked to pre-race, the Jurg Motorsports Camry of Fidel Fabian, and he's got some significant damage on the right front of that race car.
And it's similar to the troubles, Nate, that we had here last season at Kentucky in the All-Star race. You know, drivers are on cold tires. They're trying to aggressively gain track position. They run up in each other's real estate. And Fidel Fabian was really unlucky there.
And also to mention, 38 laps. This is a very fast race, and we may even call this a late race restart if we were to get a restart with 38 laps to go. So drivers so aggressive, leaning all over one another. We take a look at what happened. Just gets caught in the right rear quarter panel by the 89 of Jamie Wright.
Yeah, he was just trying to fill that space, and that's normal for a driver. You see a car width, and you're saying, all right, well, I'm just going to take that spot. Jamie Wright sees this as a business-as-usual decision, but for Fidel, I don't know if there was maybe a mishap trying to close the door on Jamie Wright, or maybe he was just trying to side draft, or maybe it was just a small veer up the straightaway. I mean, we've seen here at Nashville Superspeedway how tough the exit of turn 2 can be when you're using all of that throttle, and it seems okay. I think Fabian just thought he could shut the door there, Nate, at the exit of turn 2 and coming into turn 3, and unfortunately gets him and a couple of other cars damaged early on.
Yeah, a couple cars taking evasive action through the grass. You saw Declan George power slide just a little bit going into turn 3, and he's going to wheel that 17 car down pit lane. Trying to get everything figured out. They have one set of tires for the Open. Declan George throwing those on right now, so he'll be beating those up a little bit more than everyone else will if they decide to come down pit road, and gives us a chance to reset a little bit. Austin Duran made himself a nice move up the field in this first lap and a half.
He did a great job working to the inside, and for Ellis Wells, I mean, that's a case of cold tires and a high horsepower car. You can send it so far in turn 1, even when you're on restart or initial start speed, and Wells just carried it up the hill, and Duran, who had an inside start, I mean, just did a good job hanging on to the left side tires that are right on the yellow line. If you can do that lap after lap here in Nashville, even when the tires were down with this higher horsepower output, you can make yourself a really good race out of it. It's the perfect recipe for a delicious victory or delicious finish at the end, and a great job for Duran.
And that's the strategy we saw employed by Ryan Blaney in the NASCAR Cup Series race, just right there on the yellow line, Harvicking, as they call it. You know, at least on the old Atlanta track configuration. Kind of plays serve here at Nashville Superspeedway. Drivers picking which lanes they want to go in, taking another look. Your fan vote drivers on the bottom left of your screen. Gabe Cazzola, and up there, you see him on the top of the list. That's just number order. We're not going to spoil who wins the fan vote here on the broadcast. We would never do such a thing. Furthest up of all those guys is Austin Duran, right here in the field outside of row number 1 next to Michael Walls.
This is going to be a really interesting restart, and last season we had plenty of yellows even after the opening one, so I maybe wouldn't be surprised if we ended up seeing another caution, but as a driver, you just can't let that disruption of rhythm get to you. Luckily for them, they couldn't really get into a rhythm because it was like lap 1.5, so as a driver, you're like, all right, well, opening yellow, we'll now restart. This more feels like the actual start of the race. When you actually get a green flag running, then it'll feel like the first proper run and not you running a lap before the cars eventually crash behind you. So Wallace has to stay locked in. Austin Duran now has to react from the high side. It's a bit of a difficult position, but Wallace is going to make sure he can clear the rest of the field just like he did in the opening lap.
That's a couple of bonus pace laps. No big deal. Walls and Duran make up the front row this time. Wells struggled on the high side last restart into the Echo Park Automotive restart zone. Michael Walls blasts off, hitting the pedal on the right-hand side, cleared by a car length before they even get close to turn number 1. Austin Duran on the top end of the racetrack. We'll see if he runs nearly as high as the 57 did last time. He did not lean in on the 57. Duncan Paws 61. Everything holds serve nicely through turns 1 and 2. Back to almost single file as they go into turn 3.
And you gotta love when you have a restart like that. If you're Michael Walls, you clear the rest of the field, you get them off their game, and you're already a car length or 2 above. You're not pulling away to the tune of a second. There's Duncan Falk getting sideways off turn 4. Well, that's again 750 horsepower carrying to the rear tires only. Ball's gonna be very careful in turn 1, but thankfully saved the race car. But back to Michael Walls, did such a great job launching up, and look how comfortable of a gap he has right now.
Super comfortable, almost 3 car lengths, maybe more, back to Austin Duran in his own world. He's able to go ahead and run some, not even qualifying laps, just a handful of pacing laps, trying to keep things going in the right direction. We've taken on board with Ellis Wells, who sits in the 4th position after a front row qualifying effort, right behind Eric LeBombard. He's going a little bit higher into the corners, Kenneth, before getting down to the bottom. Is there a strategy taking that wider arc?
There is, and the reason why is because you got these exit of the corners. The walls comes up so quick, especially off turn 4, when you feel like you have a lot more room to work with, but you really don't. And you get a good look here in the middle of the corner. Wells runs trying to hug that yellow line. Look how much throttle you can carry at the exit of the corner. That's if you get the arc right. So it's a very good strategy to kind of go up high, have enough space at the bottom to where it's not enough for a driver behind you to make an inside move. Oh, Austin Duran just got bumped and run in turn 1.
And he's going to slide sideways to bring out the caution. Nobody's going to hit him so far. But things going from good to not so good for the driver of the 52. It was Eric LeBombard all over his rear bumper as they went into turn 1. And we had a front row seat on board the 57 car. Take another look at this. Everything clean and kosher, about a car length between them. LeBombard just drives it in really, really deep, Kenneth.
It felt like he had enough grip to carry through the center of the corner, but I don't know. I mean, that's dirty air. It almost felt like it was going to be a curse for LeBombard if he sent it in that deep without making contact, because that car would have just sailed up the hill. So LeBombard was just trying to be aggressive there and has a later braking mark and try to have the speed through the apex. And if you're Austin Duran, there's just nothing you can do but keep it off the outside wall. And he did a great job of hitting the throttle, trying to use that reverse momentum to get out of harm's way, and then locking up the brakes when he knows he's carrying enough speed to where he can come to a stop safely without hitting anything. So another look there, and Duran does a great job at damage control here when he's sideways, and that's just a fantastic save.
How difficult is it to, I mean, saving the car physically is one thing, but to have the mental wherewithal to go through those steps knowing exactly where you are on the racetrack?
It's really tough, and for Duran, I think there was a moment of panic there, because not only did he get hit sideways, and that's already a moment of panic, but you're going up the hill in the middle of that slowdown marker, so sometimes you can get hit hard enough to where that back end is just going to sail into the outside wall, and you're going to hit it very hard, and that oftentimes can break up the suspension, make it a really tough night for you. But when you have a next-gen car like this, it's really hard to save, and you do something like that, and you just keep that wheel tight to the right, and you use the throttle control and the brake control to keep that car in limbo. Duran did a fantastic job of staying aware in that moment and making sure that he can get out without any damage, and maybe apart from some flat-spotted tires, he can get his extra set right now, and he'll be fine.
Yeah, he's becomes one of the next drivers to go and fit on those 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles you see behind him. Fidel Fabian getting a little bit of a fix-up on pit road, trying to work that damage back. He's okay with some extra cautions. That means he gets to spend some more time getting free damage repair on pit road. This is our good buddy, Francisco Bacallao, in that 03 Toyota Camry. Francisco not often running in the SAAC Cup Series, but decided he'd show up. Money's on the line, so why not give a go at $50?
And look at this paint scheme. I mean, delving right into the Music City theme of things, Nate. That's Eminem on the quarter panel. That's Cheyenne, a very famous Latin American Spanish artist. Katy Perry's on the hood. That's one of Francisco's favorite artists. I mean, he's delving right into the music theme like a lot of other drivers are doing tonight. But Francisco kind of showing up out of nowhere. We saw Keelan make his first start last week at Talladega. I wasn't really expecting to see Bacallao up here, but he is, and he's done a good job so far of hanging in the top 5.
So Keelan made his debut last week, Francisco this week. When are we seeing you make your
No,
SAAC Cup Series
it's
debut?
not happening. It's not. Look, I've entertained the idea a little bit, and I'll have a couple other people that entertain that idea for me, but no, I'm good. I'm good. If from seeing what these drivers do each and every week, I don't think I'll have a remote shot at even competing with them. So it's a no for
Maybe
me.
we'll convince Charlie to get out on
Charlie
the racetrack.
could, yeah. I mean, give him a good road course. Charlie's gonna run. Give him the Roval Charlie's going to run.
We'll have to get Cody in on that. Let's see if we can't get the Roval on the schedule, just to bait Charlie Beyer into coming in and hopping behind the wheel of a race car. Get some more members of the KBRN crew up and moving around on the racetrack.
Nate, we need you to get iRacing, and then you can make a start.
I'm gonna have to start with a computer that can run Adobe Premiere with that steam.
I'm very
USB
curious
ports.
as to what your iRacing skills look like from out of the box. I'm really curious.
I've given it a couple tries on friends' computers, and let's just say it's not pretty. I think I will stick with the games on the console. Michael Walls and Eric LeBombard on the front row as the pace car drops to pit road. Wells and Bacalhau behind them. Gabe Cazzola has found his way into the top 5. We get ready to go back under the green flag again at Nashville. Walls hits the gas, so we got a spin in the back. Duncan falls in the outside wall.
I don't know if that's going to bring out a yellow. I mean, there are no scheduled yellows on the racetrack. Somehow fall is a dead stop, and we're going to stay green. Wow. That's a horrid start for Duncan Fall.
That is something that you don't see often on iRacing. A car goes stopped perpendicular to the racetrack and doesn't bring out a caution flag, but he hadn't technically taken the green flag yet. He hadn't crossed that checkered line, so he gets off to a really poor start, and Michael Walls and everyone else is going to be chasing him down. He's going to not only be damaged, he's going to be trying to avoid going a lap down here.
Nate, that's so frustrating. I mean, Duncan already had a bad race to start with the caution that he was sort of involved in, and now he's got front and nose damage. The aerodynamics are kind of hampered, and he's got maybe 100, 200 feet, maybe more than that until he can catch up to the nearest car at the back of this main group. So he may indeed fall a lap down if we don't get another yellow flag. He will be that lucky dog candidate spot if he does fall a lap down, but yeah, as a driver, that's really frustrating. You make one mistake, you're at high first gear. The rear tires spin very quickly at the top end of first gear and just made that mistake going up to speed.
German's not making many mistakes right now, as we just talked about him. Francisco Bacalhau up into second. Should not be much of a surprise to anybody. He is, of course, very good at iRacing and at racing in general. I mean, I remember more than 10 years ago now seeing him on NASCAR 15 dominate racing leagues there, and always seeing his Bleach Monster 54 at the top of the boards and just about every single league racing post. So not too shocking to see him cutting his way up through the field right now. And
he's following the theme of the SAAC Cup Series, Nate, because SAAC started as a GTA 5 racing league on console. So before it jumped to iRacing, and all of the members that were a part of that old GTA 5 racing league stepped in iRacing, they used to run like that on the console days. So I don't know if Francisco's ever crossed paths with them. I'm sure he hasn't, but it's really cool to see that overall theme of the drivers from SAAC, how they started, and Francisco, who also started on console. I think everyone starts from console in some way.
Pretty much another driver that got his start on console, race leader Michael Walls, and it's almost an interesting dichotomy. Walls was practically unstoppable on the 704 NASCAR Heat games. Francisco practically unstoppable on the Utechnics games. So an interesting dichotomy, and should be no surprise to see these two running up at the front of this field in the All-Star Open behind them. Eric LeBombard, it's been a while since we've seen him at the track as well. There's the caution. Luke Mahone went sideways. Looks like that's right on the exit of turn number 4. Don't see a lot of damage yet on the race car. Maybe on the right-hand side of it. Looks fairly clean to me from here. Kenneth, you seen anything?
I don't. I think it's a clean race car, but there was contact to the wall. Oh, Jamie Wright just got into him.
It is, that'll do it, and this is what we talked about, why it was so impressive to see Duran save, because what often you see is that. Try to get the car woe down, and it still just slides up the hill into the banking. You're saving this car more with the gas and the brake than you are with the steering wheel, and that's just two different lines converging at the center of the corner, Kenneth.
Yeah, and the biggest difference between Austin Duran's spin and Luke Mahone's spin is the way that they got hit entering the corner, is that Mahone had to get hit from the quarter panel for that car to have enough momentum to just whiplash its way back into the outside wall, versus Duran, he had a square hit to the rear bumper, so he was going at a much slower speed in the apex on the bottom. He got hit square, so the car just doesn't take off from the rear end as much as it would if you're hit from the quarter panel, just momentum-wise. So at least for Mahone, the car seems to be relatively unscathed, although he does have a bit of a dent to the rear end of the race car. But, I mean, these cars, composite bodies and all, they can take a beating Nate, before they eventually get to their breaking point. So Mahone, just like Duran, has to deal with the worst of it, which is really just track position lost. Everything else can be made up, though, in the rest of the event.
Yeah, what you really worry about so often is the suspension damage, and that's really about the angle at which you hit the car. You might, break a toe link, something of that nature, and make it a real bear to try to steer around this racetrack, especially, a track that's as tight as Nashville. We take a look at Austin Duran. He has not made up a whole lot of spots in this field, Kenneth. Is that a dirty air problem, do you think?
It's a combination of two things, Nate. It's dirty air, which is the biggest part. But the other component is that we haven't really had a long green flag run. So how much time has Duran had to really cut his way through the field? The answer is kind of none. He hasn't, maybe a few laps, 4 to 5 laps, but for the most part, Nate, he's had to deal with these constantly running yellows as we near halfway, and the time is running out. I mean, this is a sprint, 38 laps. We're already halfway at lap 19. There's not a lot of time that Duran can operate with, and the same can go for Luke Mahone, but Duran just needs to find his way through. He's got a fast race car, we know that, but it's just about the way he has to hunker down and find the open space and just pray that the trouble doesn't come around at the end of it and create even more difficulty for Duran to make those progressive moves up at the front.
He's either got to get on his horse and charge through the field or get on the campaign trail, because he's still one of those fan vote drivers trying to make his way into the All-Star race as a fan favorite. And you see there Michael Walls, who currently leads and has led the entire way. Another one of the drivers, Gabe Cazola, has been sitting in 6th most of that last run. Those are the top 3, the only 3 on the racetrack right now as far as the fan vote drivers are concerned. Chris Lilly, Alexander Schumacher, not in the field in this open race. So Michael Walls now has another competitor to his outside in Francisco Bacallao. 2 of those music-themed race cars, wheel to wheel, and we'll see if Walls can once again get the better of his contemporary on the top side of the racetrack. Pace car pulls onto pit road again, just about halfway home in the open from the Music City. Getting into the restart box, Michael Walls mashes the gas, and Francisco really matched him. He's going to be just behind him as they head off towards turn number 1, but he's going to stay true to the top end of the racetrack and really try to bury it in there, Kenneth. Right up there, almost side by side with Walls. Walls is going to get him clear on the exit of the corner. That's as close as we've seen anybody get to Walls on a restart.
He got really eager, though, in the center of the corner. I almost thought Francisco was going to back up the middle of turns 1 and 2 and just cut down low and try to get Walls on the crossover to the inside, but he doesn't. He felt like he had more apex speed, but just sailed it up the hill, and now LeBombard has a chance to catch up to second. But another great restart by Michael Walls. That when you have a short race like this and you are the race leader, you feel a bit less pressure on you because you know you are going to go. The rest of the field is going to only respond to what you do. And for Walls, he did a great job, although Bacallao was giving him a solid run for his money inside of car lane.
So we're shaked up further in the back. Austin Duran trying to cut through the field. Another thing that we haven't talked about, Gabe Cazola went way high up the racetrack. He's sliding and gets into Larry Miles just a little bit, really wiggling. That next year Camry gets it going, pointed in the right direction, but falls way behind everyone else in the field. Not sure what happened to Cazola, but he was running in the 5th or 6th position when it all went down. Michael Walls still out in front of Francisco Bacallao. And Kenneth, we talked about it before the race started when we were off the air, but we haven't talked about it since, because it probably feels so normal compared to every other league we do, but it's not normal for the SAAC Cup Series. We've been double file on every single one of these restarts, and that's a little bit more of a challenge for the leader, isn't it?
It is a little bit more challenging because you can have that fear if you're the race leader that Francisco Bacallao, in this case, outside row 1, if he matches you on the restart and you're not going, then ultimately they can make that pass or just be even with you in 1 and 2, to which we've seen that often results in the second car making the outside pass on the race leader and the control car. I mean, it can stack a couple things up. I think it's fair for a lot of drivers that really want to gain track position quickly. It's much harder to do it when you run up single file, and you also semi-eliminate the possibility of huge checkups. When you're single file and one person anticipates the jump, and then they have to slow down, that ricochets through the rest of the field, and oftentimes we see that result in crashes. So double file helps eliminate that factor, and that's what we've seen implemented so far tonight.
Ellis Wells worked to the inside of Brad Sawinski. This would be for the 4th position on the racetrack. Wells trying to work it back up. Remember, just the top 3 advance to the main all-star race, and then you add on the certified SAAC guys, and whoever ends up winning the fan vote. This is a good battle. They're trying to get back into position. Meanwhile, LeBombard sneaks to the inside of Bacalhau as they head off the exit of turn 2. Looked like Francisco got a little bit high in the middle of 1 and 2, and it allowed that 58 to close right up to him.
Yeah, these corners are really tight, Nashville. So with this car, when it has higher horsepower, Nate, if you get just a little bit too antsy entering the corner and you carry maybe a couple more miles an hour, you're going to get to try to slow down, of course. But if you miss the inside lane, that car is going to carry up the 14 degrees of banking, and then you have a chance at either saving the car and keeping the momentum or just having to back out of the gas pedal because you know you're going to hit the outside wall. And Francisco just almost did that. Had that wash-up moment, but did a good job to recover on LeBombard.
We've got a hard charger. It's Austin Duran. He's worked his way up into the 6th position, past Quincy Strawhacker, past Joaquin Stewart, and now is chasing down Ellis Wells. Remember, he has fresher tires than these drivers up ahead of him. He took his one set after his spin and save. Everybody else on the same set of tires that they started the race on. And you see how much better he's able to hold that yellow line. We talked about it, Kenneth. That's the fastest way across this racetrack is hugging that yellow line on the bottom end. And Duran able to do it better, but he's also able to use that second lane.
Well, Nate, what did I say? He needed time. He needed laps to be able to do something like this. If you're having restarts every 4 to 5 laps, you're not going to be able to make position. So already Duran is on a better foot now that at least we've settled into a semi-long green flag run. And it might be the opposite scenario to what we had happen in the All-Star Open last season. It was Malachi Drake on a no-stopper. He didn't take tires. He didn't take fuel. He didn't do anything. Austin Duran on a one-stop strategy. He's got enough speed inside 10 laps to go. Could be near that transfer spot in 3rd.
And that is the goal again. Top 3 is going to get you in, or you win the fan vote, or you're one of our certified SAAC guys. One of those is Larry Miles, who looks at Stewart and Strawhacker right in front of him, trying to get up ahead of all of those drivers. That's a pretty good battle between the 49 and 79, and there is the caution. Luke Mahone again, and the front end is ripped off of that race car. The right front pointed the wrong direction. A huge hit somewhere for Luke Mahone.
Oh, and the race just gets worse for Duncan Fall. I mean, remember his spill on a recent restart. It's him and Luke Mahone fighting for the lead, tagging on the rear bumper, and I think there might have been quarter panel contact. Oh, yes, there is on the front straightaway. Oh, man, what a hit for Luke Mahone. Nicholas Borowski getting in it. That is a nasty hit, and Luke Mahone's night, Nate, has just gone from bad to worse.
An innocent bystander, Borowski. We take a look at the onboard. This is looking back at Fall from Mahone's car. Fall trying to get around it. Mahone throwing a lot of blocks and right up the hill and right into the lap of Nicholas Borowski. Nowhere for that 23 car to go.
It's helpless in that situation, Nate, as a driver, because you see the incident, you barely have time to process it happening in front of you, you're hopping on the brakes, and when a car just comes bouncing off the wall like Mahone's did and directly into your path, there's only so much you can do until you just have to leave it to the racing gods to hope that you can get through the incident, and Borowski was on the short end of the stick there.
All right, pit stops potentially coming. What do you think, Kenneth?
I'm thinking 4 tires. I mean, this track is so hot. Oh, Francisco!
Francisco's not. Oh, man. There's a call for you.
Well, great thing is that we get to ask him about this in a few moments, actually.
Duran also staying out. He took his tires earlier on in the race. Remember, only 1 set, but smoke him if you got him. Isn't that the old saying?
Yep, that's true. Francisco's going to take a shot. I mean, this is going to be wild, because there are only 4 cars on the racetrack that have elected to stay out, and Austin Duran among those 4 has the best tires. And this field, I mean, given how fast Michael Walls is, might be interesting to see him in dirty air for the first time, but now that he's out of pit road first on 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles, that is going to be dangerous on the restart.
I tell you what, taking 4 fresh tires in this situation, Kenneth, I'd argue that it's logical.
Oh, man. Well, he's hoping he can get to paradise, which is the win in the All-Star race, right?
Absolutely. Francisco
he doesn't want his hopes to fade away, if you will.
If you will. Francisco Bacalhau joining us in the booth here briefly. No tires, no pit stop, Francisco. Take us through the idea.
I was waiting to see what Micah did for the most part. I was wanting to pit, and I saw him commit to pit road, and then I think staying out might be my chance with the clean air and all, and I think that is going to matter a whole lot here in the final laps, especially if we get a lot of yellows, which honestly with the different tire strategies we just might. So I just have to hold on for 2 laps or more, but as long as I can nail these restarts, and if there's any cars on my strategy that stay between myself and the 24, really anybody else on the back there, I think it should work out fine.
You know, and obviously winning is the goal, but top 3 does the trick to get you into the All-Star race and a chance at that $50. So you got a pretty solid buffer here.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing to lose really. I would love to make it, but it's not the end of the world if I don't. I just trying something different here. Maybe I learned something by attempting this strategy.
All right, well, Francisco, good luck here on this restart, and any that might come after it. Might have some chaos ensuing. Bacalhau assumes the top spot next to Austin, Duran, Larry Miles. Declan George chose the outside lane, so the inside is open for those guys on 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Micah Walls and Ellis Wells. We could be in for a special treat here, Kenneth.
We could, but it's a smart decision by Bacalhau. You want to know why? It's because he is trying to trap Micah Walls in a situation where Bacalhau can get the early jump, and if Duran doesn't get going, he backs up Walls, forcing him to go 3 wide. So we'll see. I mean, inside 5 laps to go, anything can happen.
All Bacalhau has to do is finish in the top 3. That's all any of these drivers have to do. Finish inside the top 3, and you're going on to fight for $50 in the main event. Bacalhau finds the gas, spins the tires just a little bit. Duran right even with him, just a nose ahead as they head off towards turn number 1. Duran is going to get clear of Bacalhau for the race lead. Those slightly fresher tires working. Oh, Declan George was sideways behind everybody. Looks like he's pointed in the right direction, but he's beating it off the wall, looking like Brad Keselowski a couple of seasons ago. Duran out front, Bacalhau, then Walls, your top 3. Walls, the freshest tires of the trio.
Well, look, he hasn't really gained that much time on Bacalhau, even though he's got the oldest set of tires in the field. And now there's a spinner.
Oh, Joaquin
Stewart
gets spun. Right in the middle of the front stretch, and there is the caution that Francisco predicted might just befall this field. Stewart was roughed up a little bit in the tri-oval, and here we go.
Oh, man, what a restart. I mean, Micah had a hard time getting up to Bacalhau, and you think on the freshest set of tires, Nate, that he would be able to just carve his way through the field, but he just couldn't. And again, the first time that Micah's been in dirty air all night long. And that makes a big difference when you're so used to how the car handles in free air. When you get in the middle of traffic, you get a whiplash on how difficult it is to get your way through traffic that's in front because of that dirty and turbulent air. So thankfully Micah in his position will have another chance at it, but Nate, it was a struggle for him, that's for sure.
Yeah, and he'll have another chance. Likely, if I had to guess, he would want to go on the inside of row 2, or he'd be on the outside of row 1 would be the 2 positions, because I would think you'd want to get down to the bottom of the racetrack when you have those fresher tires. Would that be right?
Yeah, you want the inside. I mean, there's no point in going up high unless you were forced up there, but otherwise, the inside line, the short way around Nashville, is the best way around Nashville. This is not really a multi-groove track in any sense of the word. You can make the middle work, but you have to be at the bottom at all times to have the most efficient lap, especially when you're on fresh Goodyear Eagles. So Walls is potentially going to be happy here that he's got the inside of row number 2. And as long as Duran doesn't choose the outside, then Walls could have a better shot at making a move for the win.
Going to be overtime at Nashville in the All-Star Open with Austin Duran, who spun and saved it earlier in the race. It brought out our second caution with a chance to win the entire deal. And of course that win good enough to qualify him into the main event. A top 3 good enough to qualify you into the main event, or by winning the fan vote, which Duran is among those drivers at the top of the fan vote as well. There's also our certified SAAC guys as well, Michael Walls, Larry Miles, among those, Fidel Fabian further back in the field, but he's actually made his way back up into a pretty solid situation after his early crash. Has Fidel Fabian. He's sitting right there next to Gabe Cazola on this restart, sitting in 9th place, so not a bad shot for him.
It took him a while to get that car repaired, but Nate, I mean, that's a 100% tip-top shape Toyota Camry, so he's still got a chance. I mean, maybe not close enough to a top 3 transfer, but you never quite know. Fidel Fabian on a really good comeback.
One of the benefactors of seeing a lot of those cautions. Cautions breed cautions, and that's bred overtime. Duran, Bacalhau, front row, behind him, Wall, green flag, gets ready to fly again, middle of the box, jump for Duran, and Bacalhau matched him. Oh, he spun the tires, maybe might have missed a shift. Duran gets bopped by Walls, and now everybody's in a melee, and Francisco Bacalhau scoots out to the lead.
Oh, but he's spinning in turn 1. He's going to go right to the outside wall. Michael Walls is in a blender on the back straightaway.
Everybody's crashing on the backstretch. The only people to get out of it are Austin Duran and Larry Miles, and they're rolling through 3 and 4.
Unbelievable.
Austin Duran is going to come back out to the front stretch, crossing the line first to win the Open. Wow.
Oh my goodness. What a way to start off the night.
And not your average overtime either. 1 lap dash. And Duran able to take it from Larry Miles and Quincy Strawhacker. Walls, who dominated, ends up wrecked on the backstretch. Bacalhau, who was the first to turn 1, ends up in the barriers. And it's Austin Duran that gets it all done.
Nate, we have to really unpack that. Oh my goodness. I don't know what happened there. But Austin Duran with a crazy run.
And Mikey's not here to say it, but I think it deserves it. Hey, what do you say?
Yeah. Man, what a drive from Duran on a one-stop strategy before everyone else was. And although he backed himself up, I mean, he had a hard time getting through the restart zone. He backed up Michael Walls, but it kind of worked out in his favor. Francisco sent the beans in turn 1. And Austin Duran just took advantage as the track cleared in front of him. And then as everyone got physical behind, that's all that Duran needed to surge up to the front and make a proper challenge at that.
So we got to just redigest this whole thing. This is to the restart. Duran bobbled in some capacity right there through the restart zone. And then into turn 1, Bacalhau just drives it way deep and loses it all by himself. Was pretty much off the screen. That's how far he went to turn number 1. And then it's all cake from there for Duran. And behind him is everybody just taking each other out.
That was unbelievable, Nate. I mean, that is something you can only script up sometimes, where the car who you predict to be the winner somehow ends up buried in the field like he's in the middle of a hurricane band. And then you've got Francisco on the old tires. I mean, he just sent it. He threw the kitchen sink and everything, and the car just didn't cooperate. And it's Austin Duran, who is the most stable car of the 3, that ends up surviving with the win.
I'm still wondering what happened on that restart again. It looked like he might have, missed a shift or just bobbled a little bit coming through there. You take a look at your unofficial results. Austin Duran gets it done. Joining him in the All-Star race is going to be Larry Miles, one of those certified SAAC guys. He doesn't have to really worry at all about getting, that certified SAAC position. Quincy Strawhacker, after really being outside the top 5 most of the race, comes home 3rd. Eric LeBombard 4th. Gabe Casola ran 5th most of the day, ends up there. Fidel Fabian, a nice comeback to 6th. Michael Walls, heartbreaking again on a Thursday night for the 24. He comes home 7th. Declan George, Duncan Faw each rebounded into the top 10. Brad Sawinski rounds it out.
And then back in 11th, Ellis Wells, Joaquin Stewart in 12th. I mean, still a comeback, even though he ended up crashing earlier in the race. Jamie Wright 13th, Bacalhau 14th, Nicholas Borowski 15th, and Luke Mahone is the final driver in the 16-car field. It says more than 16, but those drivers are either qualified for the main All-Star race or are not taking place in the Open. So it's 16 cars, and that is finalized here from Nashville Superspeedway.
Now we get a chance to unwind just a little bit and get ready for the actual event. If those 38 laps that we just saw weren't enough for you, we have 76 more on tap for the actual All-Star race with all of the stars of the SAAC Cup Series, all those drivers that got locked in, and those that advanced from the Open.
All right, well, let's talk
qualifiers Yeah, one of these qualifiers now. Larry Miles joins us. Larry, take us through that last restart.
Well, the inside didn't work very well, and the outside worked pretty good, and yeah, I just got it.
I mean, that about sums up our perspective in the booth, almost like the Red Seas parted for you, but I mean, certainly nice to have a good break go your way, isn't it?
Yeah. I think Cody wants to say something.
Sorry, fellas. We had a bit of an issue there, a bit of a problem on my end. We did call for a 2-lap shootout in the session, so our top 3 advancing were Austin, Quincy, and Eric. Larry's in as the SAAC guy winner, and the fan vote winner is Gabe Cazzola. So sorry about the confusion ahead of time. We had a little bit of issue with the green-white checkers.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so I technically choked to win.
Well, I mean, you still get to go and get into the big dance there, you know, as the certified SAAC guy, so...
Yep.
You know, what's your strategy going to be? You got 76 more laps of this.
Not finished last.
It's always a pretty good strategy, and
Yeah.
you know, when it comes down to those late moments, what are you thinking in there?
Well, I'm not going to be at the front, so I mean, however it goes is how it goes. I mean, yeah.
Well, thank you, Larry, for joining us, and congrats on punching your ticket through to the All-Star main event. And now we bring in the winner of the All-Star Open after a little bit of confusion, Austin Duran. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm confused as well.
What's your reaction when you see the 03 go spinning right in front of you as you drive through to go and take this lead of the race?
Man, he absolutely sent it. Like him cutting across my nose after the line was fine, but I did not expect him to send it that hard. I don't think there was much air packing going on there or whatever they call it. But yeah, he kind of just threw it in there, and like I would have been fine with second too. I wasn't gonna do anything to him. But yeah, that was definitely interesting. But yeah, I knew from there I just needed to settle for third. So even if I lost it to Larry or anything, I would have been fine with that too. But everything was happening all like so fast. Like I fell to the back. So much was going on, but yeah, somehow ended up winning the race.
And then, you know, you got sent sideways in the middle part of this race, really the early part of this race. How did you get that car saved and not hit anything?
Yeah, I got absolutely destroyed. Yeah, thankfully he apologized for that eventually, but I knew once I got hit, it was either try to save the car and most likely overcorrect into the wall and ruin my day, or just gas it down and keep it out of the wall and eventually lock it down. And thankfully no one else hit me. I could tell I was sliding down the track a little bit, so luckily everything played out there. I was able to get fresh tires, and then somehow the cautions, I got a little lucky on the cautions too, but hold on to the lead at the end.
And you got 76 more laps of this, so what's the strategy to go and win $50?
I'm pretty confident now. I mean, a lot of these guys don't have the practice that I do now, is how I think about it. And especially with how good the car was, I was able to drive from the back to the front and run up there as well. So pretty confident. Looking forward to the race. I wasn't expecting to make it, but here we are.
And then real quick before we let you go, anyone that you wanted to shout out and thank for this nice run in the Open?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out 80 Graphics. Finally got a good run in this car after an unfortunate week last week for all the 80G cars. Hoping for a better run tonight, and it's looking to be pretty good so far. Shout out EC Racing, of course, James Bomar, Chris Downey in the main race, and now Quincy Strawhacker as well. So EC pretty well represented, and we're hoping for a good night tonight.
All right, well, congratulations on winning the Open, and good luck later on in the main event.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully I can see you guys.
That's Austin Duran, your winner of the Open after a little bit of confusion.
Because listen though, it was oh hello.
Kenneth's got the next two.
All right, well, we're joined by Quincy Strawhacker. Quincy, what a race. I mean, crazy chaos in the attempts at overtime, but you, my friend, advance into the main race. How did that all go in that final lap for you?
Oh, dude, it was chaotic. Dude, I started dead last. So, and like, Nashville is my worst track, one of my worst oval tracks. So, I wasn't really expecting to, like, get up there. but I was a little bit on in the first few laps. When the caution came out, and then the choose cone that messed me up a little bit with the ELL. Uh, but man, I don't know who didn't get going on that last restart, but when I saw 3 wide ahead of me out of turn 2, I knew Ellis was gonna drift up into Brad, so I just prepared myself. So I just went all the way down, and I sensed that wreck was gonna happen, so I went all the way down. Uh, and I was not expecting this. Still, I really wasn't. I thought it was gonna come down to me and Eric for the last spot because it was looking like that until Barry Miles on himself, which is unfortunate. Uh, but man, wow. Shout out to Austin for making it into my teammate, and shout out to Eric too. That was a race. Honestly, that was a race.
It was definitely a race, and now you've got another one. The All-Star main to qualify for in a few moments, Quincy. What do you make of the All-Star main and what you're going to do there?
Honestly, I'm probably not gonna do much. Like I said, Nashville is my first track, and with these drivers that are much more of a threat already in All-Star race anyway. So I guess I'm just gonna, do my best. I'm probably just gonna, chill, not try it, not try really hard. Um, but man, I guess we'll see how it goes. Maybe it could play out my favor again, like it did today. It might be another chaotic race.
Well, we'll see if it does. Quincy, congratulations on advancing into the All-Star main, and we'll see you a little later tonight.
Thanks.
Quincy Strawhacker finishes third, and because Larry Miles gets his provisional as the certified SAAC guy, we're now joined by, technically, the third-place finisher that advances into the main, Eric LeBombard. Eric, what a drive you had. It was a quick car from the getaway, a wild 2-lap shootout to the finish. How did you feel through all of that, and what did you make of the Open?
Well, that was certainly a finish. I don't even know what to make of that. And I mean, I started 11th for that final overtime restart and had no thought I was going to even come close to making it in. But obviously they all just went up the track in 1 and 2, and I was able to barely skirt by. I do want to apologize to Austin. I got into the back of him really hard and ended up spinning him around early. Didn't mean to do that whatsoever. I just overdrove the corner. I made sure he was aware of that. I even told him if he wanted to give it back to me, he had all the right to do so. But yeah, just lucky to get through all the wrecking and barely get through to the open, or through the open.
So you've got through the Open. You've got one more to go. 76 laps here from Nashville Superspeedway. Based on the practice and the running laps you had in this race, how will you use that into the main later on?
Well, I mean, absolutely. I know how the car feels on a long run now, short run. I'm feeling pretty confident. I understand the way the car works, and I now know not to break that lane to turn 1 behind anyone.
All right, Eric. Well, a great run tonight. Fast car here from Nashville Superspeedway, but not the last that we will see you. We'll see you in the main later on tonight.
Yep, thank you.
So Eric LeBombard, Nate, and Quincy Strawhacker joined Austin Duran as the other 2 drivers advanced into the main race.
Yeah, and beyond that, Larry Miles, certified SAAC guy, and Gabe Cazzola, the fan vote winner, will be taken to the track for 76 laps in the All-Star Race main event on the other side of the break. You're watching the KBueno Racing Network.
Welcome to the Thousand Islands Cruette in Clayton, New York. We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come in for a tasting, and our helpful and knowledgeable staff will help you find the perfect olive oils or vinegars to add that perfect touch to your next meal. We have monthly specials and sales, as well as new pairings and recipes, so there's always something new to try when you visit. The Thousand Islands Cruette on James Street in Clayton. And don't forget, hey, no touchy the tankies.
It's good.
It's good, man. How'd you get it?
I got it all through the Walmart Rewards app.
All through the app?
All through the app.
All through the app. The world is my oyster. On the Wawa app, you can get all of your favorites and pick up at any time. Gotta have a Wawa.
There's only one fuel that can drive the performance you demand from your car. New 94 Octane, the highest octane on the market, only at Sunoco.
Welcome back to the virtual Nashville Super Speedway. Not quite technically halfway if you count the laps, but halfway home on our All-Star festivities for the SAAC Cup Series. I'm Nate Polite alongside Kenneth Bueno. We've got 76 laps of All-Star racing coming up from the 1.3-mile concrete behemoth, Nashville Super Speedway.
It is going to be great, Nate. I mean, after what we saw in that open, I don't know if there are any more words I can use to describe what we're about to see for a longer race. Maybe some more long green flag runs, but the truth is, we've got all the drivers that qualified in from the open, plus probably some of the best SAAC Cup Series drivers that we have seen over the last few seasons, and even this regular season, multi-time race winners, drivers who are former champions, everything in between. So this mesh is going to be a ton of fun to witness.
And a reminder on the format, all winners in Season 5 are automatically locked into the All-Star race. The top 12 in points coming into the All-Star break, all locked into the All-Star race. All active past champions, all active winners from last season, and all active top 10 points finishers from last season as well were locked in. Then we added in our certified SAAC guy, Larry Miles. He won that. He was the highest finisher among those four. Connor Zola not making it to the track. Walls dominated, ended up in a wreck on the final lap. Fan vote was won by Gabe Cazzola. Austin Duran won his way into the All-Star race. Cazzola, the fan vote winner. In the top three from that open, like I said, Austin Duran, who was followed by Quincy Strawhacker and Eric LeBombard. They'll all join in the rest of the field, which again, winners, top 12 in points, last year's winners, and last year's top 10.
And that means you've got some of the best drivers, again, out there that are in this field, and it's going to be fun to see what they do here tonight, because one thing that we kind of failed to bring up, and we mentioned it briefly in that Eric LeBombard interview, is that those open drivers, they have practice. So it's a different track condition, but it's the same track, so they automatically have more laps that they have put in a race condition. And as a driver, that's so important, because you can do as many practice laps as the next guy, you can run more practice laps than the next guy, and you can refine the way you drive the track. But there's a difference between you driving the track by yourself versus you driving not only against the track, but against everyone else around you. So that's a little bit of an advantage that those open drivers have. They have a race under their belt. Now they can use some of the things they learned there into this main race.
Yeah, LeBombard mentioned he knows now where the breaking point is, so he doesn't end up running anybody over in the main event. And everyone's just got a little bit more of an idea of where they can and can't push the car to, what they can and can't do to the tires. And what's notable, in the main event, we had one tire set. In the open, we're unlimited in the main All-Star race as far as tire sets are concerned. How's that going to impact this one, Kenneth?
It's going to mean a lot. I think a lot of drivers clamor so much about the tire sets they're given each and every weekend. Some think that if the tire set limit is too low, then it becomes a tire lottery. Others, when they have enough tire sets, sometimes they still think it's pretty difficult to strategize around it and make sure they can hit the right tires at the right time. But in this race, that's not a concern. You can come down pit road every single caution for tires, and you'll be just fine. And I think that opens up the possibilities for the drivers to take more risks. Maybe some stay out more, but definitely a lot of drivers will be inclined to come in for tires knowing that it's not a limit down there. They'll be able to take as many as they want.
I was going to ask that. Does that mean that we're going to see everybody bring it down pit road on every single caution? Or maybe do we see some drivers decide to stay out? Let's take another look at this track map, Nashville Super Speedway. Not in Nashville, technically. Lebanon, Tennessee, 1.3 miles in length, all on concrete. No asphalt here. One of the only intermediates that we'll go to that's covered in a concrete racing surface, Kenneth.
And it's the largest track that has a concrete surface in it. The only others I can think of, Dover, you think of Bristol in that same vein as well. And Nashville was owned at one point by Dover Motorsports, ended up being bought out by SMI. But this is a tough track to drive. We saw it already in the open. Those cars tailing sideways, and it may not be the case under the lights in this main All-Star race, but still, this track can catch you at a moment's notice. It carries a lot of heat in the track surface, and honestly one of those very unique intermediates that gets the best of both worlds, a hard-to-drive racetrack, and then that high horsepower, low downforce package that we see in these Cup Series cars in any track under a mile and a half.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. Night race for the All-Star race, so that track kind of cools off, right, and typically will lend itself to just a little bit more grip. You know, you think that's going to make the track a little tighter in the center? Because it already is pretty tight.
Yeah, I think definitely when you look at this track and the cooler surface, it means you get less oversteer, you get a lot more understeer, and when you have a lot more grip, drivers get really anticipated about it. They get really excited to send it into the corners. Then that caveat is if they dive a little bit too much, that car's going up the hill, and you have the right front tire just screaming for grip at the end of the run. We almost saw that last season at Kentucky where the bumpy surface did still catch a lot of drivers off guard and got them sideways. However, because it was a nighttime race, the same as it's going to be here in this version at Nashville, the drivers got used to the long green flag runs. Right front tire went away, and all of a sudden, you had a race for who can save that right front tire the best.
The All-Star race of this season just moments away from the virtual Nashville Superspeedway. We got 76 laps on tap. Stay with us on KBRN.
Let's go racing!
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
There's only one fuel that can drive the performance you demand from your car. New 94 Octane, the highest octane on the market, only at Sunoco.
Hey, Francisco, what's up? What's up, Kenneth? What's going, man? How are you? Good. How you been? What you got in the bag, man?
I got a panini. I have a hoagie. I got it all through the Wall Rewards app.
You can order it all through the app?
You can order it all through the app.
I can order it all through the app. The world is my oyster! By placing your order on the Wawa app, you can pick up at any time with ultimate satisfaction. Gotta have a Wawa.
Welcome back to Nashville Superspeedway. It's All-Star Night for the SAAC Cup Series. We've got 76 laps of the All-Star main event on tap. Taking a look at Shockey Tarpley pulling it off of pit road, and that Tyler the Creator, Call Me If You Get Lost paint scheme. We're of course in the Music City, Kenneth, so we're going to see a lot of these music paint schemes. Amir Bascombe continuing that Tyler the Creator theme with the Chromacopia car, nice and green, almost blending in with the grass as he rolls on by it down to the backstretch. Steven Maggio and He Is Risen paint scheme. You know, we're going to be talking about music a lot tonight. We saw it in the Open. This is James Bomar. What does that say? Noisy? I mean, I've never heard of that band, Kenneth.
That's Stray Kids. That's a big Korean pop band that
there you go.
James Bomar and Amir Bascombe, they seem to have a little bit of the similar interest in that sense. And James Bomar is going all in on it. I love the Music City theme. SAAC Cup Series, we saw it last season when we covered it on the KBueno Racing Network. They embrace these themed races, and a lot of the drivers get heavily involved. They make these full-on race cars, and they make them look really good, and they tailor them to whatever part of the theme that they want it to be, whether it's music tonight, cereal, video games, they theme it to anything. So I think it's really cool. We may have to pull out the Spotify and the Apple Music. We got to dig deep in our bag to find all the references.
Yeah, these drivers always doing their best part to, give these great designers that we have on iRacing an opportunity. Then you've got Jurg, who sticks to the classic look, so too Connor Trafari and his Lot 9 Brewing Chevrolet. So some guys sticking to their classic looks, and we saw that in the Open as well. This is Connor Trafari, defending champion. Hasn't won since Phoenix last year, despite winning the title. Now is at about midway point of the season. That was the first time I hopped in the booth, Kenneth. And it's hard to believe because it feels like he's led enough laps to win 4 or 5 races since then, but still winless and trying to get his luck back in the All-Star race.
Again, and through all of our regular season races, only one finish outside of the top 10, and it was a race that he started second in. It was at Auto Club Speedway. So Trafari has really been just as consistent as he was last season, maybe even a bit more. We saw him come to life in the back half of the regular season, and he was solid in that first half. But this season, he has picked up right where he's left off, just without the race victories. And you see him running multiple laps, and you ask yourself, well, why is he running multiple laps? He's just getting slowed down now. That's because in this All-Star format, Nate, they're doing a 4-lap average qualifying session. So it's kind of like the Indianapolis 500, where you put your 4 best laps together. It's no longer just 1 or 2 laps. So that's why you see a lot of these drivers taking a longer time to put in their official time.
So nobody gets to be a hot lap merchant, if you will, and go sit at the front of this field. You got to be able to do it for at least 4, and it probably will normalize our starting grid just a little bit. This is James Thurston. He's got a couple wins under his belt this season, won a few last year as well. A nice sleek black paint scheme. In this Music City theme, Kenneth, who would be the musician sponsoring your race car?
So I've been thinking about it for a while, believe it or not, Nate. I had a chance to think about it for a little bit because I kind of knew this question was coming up, and I was gonna go with Logic, kind of like how Michael Walls did, and he actually put my favorite album from Logic on the race car on the side. That's The Incredible True Story, which is, to this day, still my favorite Logic album that he's ever released. But I may go with a God Does Like Ugly JID car. I think the designs of the album are really cool. A lot of beige, a lot of browns, lots of reds. I think it's really creative that you can make a scheme around that. So I would go with that. Nate, I'm really curious what you would pick.
Well, that's the thing, because I could just pick my favorite artist. I'm a big Billy Joel fan. But I think about his albums, and I'm not quite sure which of his album covers would make for the best looking race car. But then I think of probably my favorite album cover of all time is Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John. And I think that would make for a really nice looking paint scheme. And Elton John is my second favorite artist of all time, and of course a superstar in his own right. So that's probably what I'd go with, is a little Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Well, so then who's your number one, if I had to ask?
Well, my number one, that's Billy Joel. I'm just not so sure that his album covers would make for the best looking paint scheme.
Okay. Okay, you said number 2, so I was a little confused there.
Yeah, and beyond that, we'll see. That's not a musician. That's the Memphis Grizzlies. But sticks with the Tennessee theme at the very least.
I mean, he's close. He's as close as you can get from a hometown team.
Yeah.
Maybe Tennessee Titans. But Nashville and Memphis, I mean, they're not too far away from each other. I mean, he could have gone with the Tennessee Titans because they are basically in Nashville. Nissan Stadium, which is
right
not
there.
far away from Nashville Fairgrounds, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, technically, Nashville Super Speedway is not even in Nashville.
It's not, yeah.
A lot of racetracks like to lie about where they are. I think of, well, I guess it's not called Atlanta Motor Speedway anymore, but it was called that at a time, and it didn't move out of Atlanta and into Hampton. It's been in Hampton the whole time. It's one that jumps out to me. Gabe Cazzola also not in a music-themed paint scheme. He won the fan vote.
That's
over
really
his
cool.
other competitors.
That's really cool for Gabe to have his family, his friends to vote on him. I'm not sure if drivers were eligible to vote in that system, and if they were, it seems like there's a lot of high sentiment for Gabe Cazzola. They wanted to see him in this race. The only caveat is him and Larry Miles. Remember how they had to qualify from the provisional? And even though Larry did technically qualify on speed and on track position because he finished second in the end of that All-Star Open. So if he didn't have the provisional, he would have made it anyway. Because he is running through the provisional, him and Gabe have to start at the tail end of the field. That is that kind of turnaround from getting a free bid into the race, although you ran in the open. Now you have to be at the tail end of the field, which is going to be quite a difficult challenge for a lot of those drivers because we saw Michael Wells, even on fresh tires on a hot track temp, he could barely get around the top 2 on a green flag restart. I can only imagine if a long green flag run kicks in, how hard it may be for drivers like Larry and Gabe to weave their way through.
Yeah, it's going to be so tough for them to cut through the field. And we're going to keep our eye on that pair of Toyota Camrys, Miles and Cazzola, as they try to carve their way through everybody at Nashville Super Speedway. Again, ever so closer to this all-star race. There's been a lot of anticipation building up all night long. We saw ourselves a great one in the Open, Kenneth.
We did, and now we get to see a longer race, number one. We may have some more strategy as well. We saw that kick in the back half of Kentucky, so tonight should be no different. Lower track temp, though, that is going to be a big time question mark that will be answered very soon.
And the race twice as long. The wait's over. Let's get down to pit road for the starting grid for the SAAC All-Star Race. Here in season number 5, AJ Hyder sits in the pole position alongside James Thurston. Not surprising to see those two up front. Behind them in row 2, Christopher Robinson and Austin Duran, both putting in really, really good 4-lap qualifying efforts. Austin Duran, the winner of the Open. Chris Downey, last week's winner from Talladega, starts in 5th alongside league owner Cody Riveras. Row 4, Andretti Robinson alongside James Bomar. We talked about Bomar's hot streak at the top of the show overall. Mir Bascom and Jonathan Juergensmeyer round out the top 10.
Back starting 11th is where you'll find Shockey Tarpley's 25 car, Steven Maggio, who finished in the top 3 in our last season's edition of the All-Star Race from Kentucky. He's got a pretty deep start, but still can weave his way back to the top 10 from 12th. Row 7 will feature Wyatt Roberts, winner from Daytona last season, and Connor Trafari, the defending series champion. Of course, you were going to see him in this All-Star race. He's back in 14th in row 7 with a chance to win his first All-Star event. Quincy Strawhacker, who qualified in from the All-Star Open, is back in 15th. Justin Rott in the 76 on his outside in 16th place. Ollie Reeves rolled from P17, the 2-time race winner this season, and the first of our drivers, again, like we saw with Quincy Strawhacker, to qualify through the Open. Eric LeBombard back in 18th place. Gabe Cazzola, winner of the fan vote, and Larry Miles rounds out the field here from Nashville.
Getting ready to go green, and let's go ahead and bring in one of our drivers in this all-star race, Connor Trafari. Connor, you're starting a little bit deep in this field. What's the strategy?
Yeah, didn't have the best qualifying. Ironically, I probably had one of the better single times, but I messed up 2 of the laps, which really sent me to the rep back. But I really do think I have some good long run pace here. So hopefully just stay out of trouble, save the tires, and slowly make my way up to the front.
And you're the last driver in the SAAC Cup Series to win here, Season 3 at Nashville. What are you going to need to do to recapture that magic?
Well, the car's changed a lot, especially with the new horsepower package. So just got to learn how this drives. I think I'm always a little bit better with the higher horsepower packages, especially at a track like Phoenix and some others last season. So I definitely think I have the speed. I just got to get a clean air and hopefully be able to make some moves later.
I remember last year you won some money, said that it was going to go to groceries. What's the $50 going to go to tonight if you get the win?
Oh, man. Probably food still.
Oh, Connor, thanks for taking the time to join us up in the booth, and good luck out there tonight.
Of course, man. Appreciate it.
Connor Trafari, most recent winner at Nashville Super Speedway in a points-paying event back in Season 3. Starts a little bit deep in this field, Kenneth, but if anyone is going to be the guy to carve through everybody, it's going to be Connor Trafari.
It definitely would. I mean, he's aggressive, he's fast, he's got consistent pace, and if you're a former winner at a racetrack, yes, things can change, times can change, people can change, iRacing always changing with this next-gen car, but he still has fundamental pace, he can still work his way around a track condition like this, and that's kind of how he got the win at Phoenix in a low track temp, similar to what we're experiencing here tonight. So although Trafari has a farther start over his 4-lap average, I wouldn't be surprised if he was near the front, at least by the end of the first green flag run.
Yeah, wouldn't be hard to see that. We take a look at a couple other of these Music City paint schemes. Cody Rivera's with the Kanye West Graduation, one of the more iconic album covers of our lifetimes, Kenneth. That, distinct kind of orange up into purple chrome color scheme on that 36.
Yeah, it's a nice looking car. Look at these great looking cars in the rows behind. I mean, we mentioned that Chromacopia car from Amir Bascombe. Andretti's not going with a music theme. Maybe this can be parlayed into a music theme because the Black Panther album that came out, Kendrick Lamar and a bunch of other hip-hop rap artists are on that. It's a fantastic album. All the stars came from the Black Panther album. This is more of a movie car, though, so you can kind of give them a half pass.
Well, it's got one of the best soundtracks in a movie in my lifetime, at the very least. Would be my opinion of that. And it looks nice. And so many of these cars look absolutely phenomenal. So many great designers that put paint schemes together on iRacing. And it's I've tried my hand at making some iRacing paint schemes. I think I'm okay at it, but I don't understand, adding into the well, I'm now forgetting what they're called, but the way that they get the chrome up there, the term was just in my head and it popped out of it.
The spec maps.
There you go, spec maps. I never could quite figure those out. So many really great designers showing off their incredible talents to put these cars on iRacing. Always love these special theme races because that's really where these guys get to show their stuff.
Yeah, it's super cool. And we mentioned drivers like Austin Duran. Not only is he a driver in the sim, but he is a designer. That's why AD Graphics is such a huge sponsor on so many cars in this field, is because he's a designer himself. He puts together schemes for plenty of drivers that either run in this series or others that he is good friends with, or others that really just want to commission his talent. So it's really cool that the drivers have gotten into it, whether they support their fellow friends and other drivers or whether they have a shot at trying to make their own paint schemes. It's really cool when you can just get creative and put whatever you want on a car. And here's the whole field coming down pit road. This is just to make sure you know where your pit box is, similar to what NASCAR Cup drivers do in real life. But the SAAC Cup Series is making sure, just like they did last week at Talladega, in points-paying races or not, that the drivers know where they need to pit. And that's really important when you get down that first pit stop, because if you don't see it first, chances are it can kind of become a hard time finding your pit box unless you're like the pole sitter.
Yeah, and with unlimited tire sets, they're going to be coming into those pit boxes pretty frequently. So you probably, if you miss it once, I don't think you'll miss it again, and you'll get used to where it's at. But you don't want to have to constantly think about that all throughout the race. So everyone gets one last chance to go up and check where their pit stall is, make sure they're going to be sliding on into the right box, trying not to drive through it or anything like that either. And now the next car to come down pit road is going to be that iRacing official pace car. Lights are off. On it, AJ Hyder, James Thurston on the front row. Behind them, Christopher Robinson and Austin Duran. And it looks like they're going to add another lap. I swear the lights were off on that. They like to play tricks every now and again, does the pace car driver here on iRacing, making us think they're about to dive down pit road when they're really not to. So we get a little extra time to set this race up for you guys. Kenneth, what are we looking at here? What do we think we're going to see over the course of the next 76 laps?
So we're possibly going to see strategy. I imagine that a lot of drivers will take it easy if they anticipate that this race is going to go longer than 15, 20 laps on a long green flag stretch, because again, like I mentioned, the right front tire comes into play, rear tires come into play. You want to maintain the shoes under the race car. Although you do have unlimited tire sets, you don't really want to come down pit road under a green flag run, because that's going to make you a lap down or more here at Nashville. So think of it, the drivers won't be as aggressive as they were in the open, and it'll be a different race for sure. Calmer conditions at the start. We know what these drivers are capable of. A lot of them have had the composure enough to be up at the front when the points matter. Now when it's just money on the line, I'd imagine there's still going to be some good fighting. But keep an eye on those in the mid-pack, trying to either weave positions little by little or save their tires for the end.
All right, let's try this again. Double checking those lights are off, right, Kenneth? There it goes. Right down pit road, the iRacing official pace car. This time, AJ Hyder and James Thurston with the field in hand as they creep toward the tri-oval and the Echo Park Automotive restart zone. Hyder mashes the pedal on the right-hand side. We're racing in the All-Star race at Nashville. Cody Rivera gets sideways into Jurgensmeyer, into Trafari. Everybody crashing as they come to the end of lap. Kenneth, I was about to say, it looks like a repeat of Talladega from everybody behind AJ Hyder, and the big one strikes.
And Connor Trafari is involved in that as well. Plenty of heavy hitters that are taken out. And I was holding my breath, Nate. There were 3 wide for just about 4 rows deep at the exit of turn 4 on the opening lap of the race. Whatever I just said got proven wrong and then some in the 30 seconds that we had that green flag lap. And a lot of drivers will have to take their time on pit road because of that. And a big time crash on the opening lap of the race takes out plenty of large contenders.
How important is track position? That important. That we're going 3 wide. And we take a look at what happens in this melee. Rivera's got a little squirrely going through the center of the corner. And it looks like he just gets down into Amir Bascom, then gets sideways up into Jurgensmeyer. And everybody crashes as they cross the stripe to see the end of the first lap. Justin Rott involved in that accident as well. Not a good couple of weeks for him. This is on board with Jurg, trying to keep off of that 36. It's a little bumper. And then there's the contact in front of him. The 21 and 36 get together. Tried to gas it up right by him, Kenneth. No such luck.
It's just heartbreaking when you have nowhere to go. I mean, that's outside of 3 wide that those drivers are dealing with. Jurgensmeyer in the middle of 3 wide. And it almost looked like from that first perspective that Rivera had just lost it at the exit of turn 4 and those tires kicked up. I mean, it's cold Goodyear Eagles, so they can still slip up from under you if they haven't had a full heat cycle underneath them. But it was really just contact, a little mishap between Amir and Cody. And once these next-gen cars are sideways, they don't like y'all at all, especially in that kind of momentum, in that kind of speed rate. You're looking at a car that just starts to feel like you tip a truck with a trailer behind it going 75 miles an hour. It's going to start wobbling, and eventually it reaps out of control, and that's exactly what went down with that 36 car and taking a bunch of other drivers with him.
Yeah, these busy pit road. You're getting more than those unlimited tires. There's Justin Rott and his Memphis Grizzlies Chevrolet getting some repairs. He was involved in the back end of that accident. And he didn't get off to a great start last week at Talladega either, Kenneth. Was involved in an early crash, so not great for him. The only silver lining really being that this race doesn't have any points attached to it. Larry Miles also looks like he got a little bit of damage on the right front as well, trying to get that all repaired. Part of starting in the back and working your way through the field. And everybody was 3 wide chasing after AJ Hyder, including this James Thurston. Orbit Culture on the front of that car. AJ Hyder in his, well, I was going to say his classic look, but it is completely different from what he ran last year. But this has been what he's gone through most of this season, the Pepsi Zero Sugar 44.
Yeah, change of the number, change of the colors for AJ, but it's still the same quick Hyder that we've seen all season long. Winner at Kentucky, a driver who has been in contention to win a few other races past that point, just hasn't been able to do it, but has been in contention to win several of those races. And going back to that James Thurston car, see, that is going to be one scheme that I know I have to look up because I just don't know it from the top of my head or in my heart. Looks cool, though. Very good scheme, but you're going to have to give me a moment to try and look this up and figure out who they are.
Yeah, I'm much the same way. I was hoping that you'd already done that or help pick me up, but we'll return around. That's a sleek looking paint scheme. Love that dark matte black with just a little bit of light accent to it. It's such a classic look for a race car. You call it the old test car look, if you will. It reminds me a lot of those Martin Truex Jr. Furniture Row paint schemes where he dominated in 2017, dominated a handful of races in 2016. That's a nice looking style for a race car always. Can't ever go wrong with the matte black and everything else with a little glossy kind of finish to it, decals wise. So let's try it again. Another restart. Pace car drops to pit road. Barely got to the end of lap 1 last time around. Let's see how far we make it this time. Some wounded cars make their way to the back of the field. AJ Hyder steps on the gas. Now it's time to dance in the Music City. We're racing again in Nashville.
Look at the great restart from Austin Duran. I mean, he surged up from the high lane, looked outside 3 wide. He wants to cross over here on James Thurston. Great jump from the 52 of Austin Duran to stay in third and putting the pressure on James Thurston very early on.
keeping that pressure up. It's what he was able to do at the very end of the open. He hit the Intimidator button at the very end of it, but now stuck on the inside lane. Bomar gets a really nice run, and we're still 3 wide. Why not? Bascombe, Downey, and Robinson going into turn number 1. Not the place you want to be. Oh, sideways goes Gabe Cazzola. He's spinning through 1 and 2. Caution comes back out to the speedway. Got hit somewhere and went way sideways. Looks pretty clean, though.
I think that car may have gone out of harm's way. We know it definitely had a near miss or just hit the outside wall. Is this Quincy Strawhacker and Gabe Cazzola? Strawhacker, remember, qualified from the open. Cazzola won the fan vote. Just a bit too deep. Strawhacker got in there thinking he had enough space, gets right into Cazzola, and we harped on the incredible save from Austin Duran. I'd argue this is just a little bit closer. He has a dent on the back bumper, but these next-gen cars can't take a hit back there before it eventually becomes crinkled. So good on Gabe Cazzola to stay out of that trouble and didn't get enough damage to take him out of contention.
Could have been so much worse. We go on board. This is what it looked like from the back of Gabe Cazzola's car. Strawhacker drives it in deep, catches him right in the rear quarter panel. Got a little to his inside, but you mentioned it, Kenneth. Just a little bit too deep into the corner. Gabe Cazzola had worked his way up by virtue of getting through that incident, and now he's going to have to recycle and go try to charge right back through the field. Again, the good news, no harm, no foul if he wants to come down and put 4 fresh Goodyears on it. Unlimited sets in this race. We're going to be talking about that a lot. We'll see if there's any takers on pit road. James Thurston thought about it, might have tried to bait some other drivers. Amir Bascombe does much the same, but you know, just over a lap of green flag racing on these tires now. Maybe just over 2 laps. Not to the point where a lot of these drivers are all that concerned.
No, they're not. They haven't had that big of a heat cycle to where it would be that big of a problem. And I wanted to bring one more thing up because we have unlimited tires, which is good on strategy. But then you have to also consider something that we haven't talked about yet, and it's part of the rule book for this All-Star race. There are no fast repairs. So it's like every other race this season where if you pick up damage, you got to come down, take in the time to repair that car. And that's why drivers like Jonathan Jurgensmeyer is 4 laps down, Justin Rock, Connor Trafari, Cody Riveras, they're all 1 lap down because of that big crash. And in the All-Star race, you got a gimme, you got everything for tires, but you've got nothing for fast repairs to get a clean way out and get a clean race car. So that is going to hamper them a lot. And that is going to only push 13 cars on the lead lap because of it. And we're only 5 laps in.
Yeah, only 5 laps in, and it's been a long night already. We had a great race in the open, won by Austin Duran. Saw plenty of cautions in that race as well. And so far, more of the same in the main event. AJ Hyder's been out front for all of it, but it's been 2.5 laps of green flag racing. The rest, he hasn't really been out front because he's been in the same position he's in right now, right behind the iRacing official pace car. But he'll take the easy lap sled, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, there's kind of a double-edged sword with something like that because on the positive side, you're telling yourself, well, great, if the yellows keep flying and I keep doing these great restarts, I'm still in the lead. I'm leading all these laps. Field to be frozen. I'm not feeling too pressured. But then the other side of it is I don't have a rhythm. I haven't been able to put this car under a full green flag stint or at least more than 5 laps. I want to run. I don't want to keep stopping and going like I'm in the middle of I-95 traffic at 5 p.m. I want a smooth way into a green flag run, and someone like AJ Hyder loves those conditions. He likes being the fastest car on a long green flag stretch. He likes to run laps consecutively. So there is kind of that war that you have mentally of would you rather have the field frozen and you still lead laps, or would you rather earn it by being the fastest car on the racetrack? And I think Hyder prefers the latter. But now he's got James Bomar to the outside instead of James Thurston, who's going to be behind him. So this should be interesting on how Thurston tries to make sure he can stay behind Hyder off of turn 2.
Bomar looks like he must have had a penalty of some sort. Drops to the rear of the field, so Duran jumps to the front row outside of AJ Hyder as the pace car makes his way to the safety of pit road. Hyder's going to find the gas in the restart zone, blasting off from everybody else by half a car length over Duran and a full one over Thurston. Not sure what the situation was with Bomar. We'll get word on that as Hyder starts to pull away, and Duran going to try to battle outside of Thurston, but he's cleared up right in front of him.
And that's what you want, though, if you are AJ Hyder. You want the second and third place cars in their rows to start going side by side in the corner, because what that means is natural lost time, and when you're the leader, you can just push away. You can get out, gather some elbow room, and be able to stretch out your lead in front of the field. It's not that big between the top two at 0.3 of a second, Nate, but that is more than enough for AJ Hyder to operate very comfortably.
You just want to have a nice little buffer back to the guy behind you. You'll be able to keep that gap nice and consistent, and we got another caution blanketed over the speedway. Bomar again going very, very slowly, very off the pace. Just coming out of turn 2. Still not sure what the issue was coming to the green flag for him, but he dropped from the front row. And now we'll take a look. This is him back in the field. And then he gets hit by Ollie Reeves and sideways up into the wall. Very similar to what we saw wall contact-wise from Gabe Cazzola.
And that was started by the move on Quincy Strawhacker. So they carry into turn 1. You'll see that bright yellow car. He goes through the middle. I think Strawhacker hits the apron, comes up the racetrack, and yeah, there's nothing that Ollie Reeves can do. I mean, he's carrying so much momentum. Hard for him to slow down without hitting James Bomar. And like we talked about with Gabe Cazzola, it's a hit to the outside wall, but this time he's got rear spoiler damage, so now it's going to hurt him a lot more, and he's got to take the time on pit road to nurse this car.
And all of that, plenty of time, no fast repairs in this all-star race, much like we see in every single week. You got to make sure you spend your time repairing that car. So Bomar, not where he thought he was going to be as he came out of turn 4 to the green flag last time. See if anyone decided to come down pit road. Doesn't quite look like it. Saw Gabe Cazzola get really close to entering. I think he actually might have gone down pit road. Maybe to go put 4 fresh tires on. Under our third caution of the night on only lap 6 from Nashville Super Speedway. Bringing the driver, the 36, winner at Adelaide a couple weeks ago, and did not get off to the best start tonight. Cody Rivera, how's it going, Cody?
Well, we could be better. We definitely could be better, but caution laps don't count, so I can sit here as long as I want and not go laps down. I had 9 minutes. Hopefully we can get that thing repaired. Didn't think the All-Star crew would crash like this, but, it is what it is.
And when you don't have these fast repairs in this race, you really do have to take advantage
Are
of
we
these
1
cautions,
to
don't
green?
you?
Did they just choose? I can't tell. I'm sitting in the pits.
Oh, we just had Kenneth?
No.
The lights are still
no,
on.
they're still lights are still on. They're good.
Lights are still on. Okay, beautiful. I could sit here for a little while longer. Okay. Yeah, no fast repair, but when you have caution laps not counting, it's like a mini fast repair in a way. I don't know how good the car is going to drive. I think I had a good car, and I had some good speed in our little warm-up session and in qualifying. I was pretty excited. But things just got hectic on the first lap, and, just normal kind of first lap stack up, 3-wide shenanigans happened. But we'll get back in there and hopefully gain a few spots, make something good out of this one, and put a little show on for you guys.
Yeah, it looks like they're just choosing now. Lights are off on the pace car, Cody. So we'll let you finish up those repairs and get back out on the racetrack. Thanks for joining us.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Cody Rivera's not off to the best start, but again, caution laps don't count towards total lap count, so he gets to kind of sit there as much as he wants to, and his car's kind of peter around the racetrack. He's not going to lose a whole lot of time, whole lot of laps in any case, so certainly he'll take that as a driver.
And he'll also take fresh tires on every single stop. That's, again, the benefit of unlimited tires, is that if these guys go long enough on a run and they decide to stay out because of track position alone, Cody Rivera can take tires that are maybe 10 to 15 laps better, depending on how long we go, and then he could just rocket up to the field as soon as his car is back to tip-top shape. So that's a great thing for him, and that also goes for Connor Trafari, who's got his car repaired, Justin Rock, Gabe Cazzola, now James Bomar. They can alter themselves on strategy because of the caution laps not counting and because of all those tires they have available on pit road. So it should be fun. Just depends on how the drivers in front stay out, and if they stay out any much longer.
It depends on if the drivers can keep it green for more than a couple of laps. We've already seen 3 cautions in the first 6 laps of racing. They'll look to get a little cleaner here. Hyder and Thurston getting ready to blast off. Hyder mashes the gas and pulls away just as he's done on every single restart. Duran follows through. It was not a good start for Thurston on the top end of the racetrack. He falls all the way back into the third position, dropping anchor just a little bit. He falls to the bottom end of the racetrack. He tries to defend against Tamir Bascombe for third.
He's trying to do that crossover on Austin Duran, but it just didn't work there at the exit of turn 2. You carry yourself into that turbulent air. He wants to deal the bumper to Austin Duran. That's shades of the open earlier on tonight with Eric LeBombard. Duran does not want to get spun from the top 3 once again like he did in the open, and that's a great corner from Amir Bascombe. Took advantage of the slowdown there from Thurston. That's how you have to make your moves, and he wants the middle.
And Thurston looking almost like he's bobbling a little bit. He gets to the center of the corner on that yellow line. Everyone tags the outside wall as they get to the back straightaway. Bascombe hanging tough on the outside. It's tough to get up there and pass, but he's doing a good job. And how about Chris Downey backing up last week's win by running in the top 5 here early?
That's really great stuff from Chris Downey. He's just got to be very careful, though, in the middle of this traffic. When they are side by side here in Nashville, you don't really have a third option, although Downey is trying to make it work. Thurston now overshoots the corner, but Downey off of that high momentum from the Talladega win. Like I said earlier in the show, you get one win, and either the wins start coming in consecutive fashion, or you just have a heap of confidence to run up with the best of them, and that's what Chris Downey is looking like right now.
We've seen those wins come in consecutive fashion so often this season. Right, Ollie Reeves opens. Oh, we got a spinner! LeBombard goes for a trip through the grass, mowing the lawn in the Music City. Back up onto the racetrack, sideways, spinning out, locks it down. Will we stay green? He gets it rolling. No yellow yet. Looks like we will. Most of the spin was off of the racing surface, so iRacing says, nope, you guys are good. Let's keep on racing. AJ Hyder out in front, and there we go, inside Downey, looking for the 4th position on Amir Bascombe.
And that is a close call for iRacing Race Control as Christopher Robinson gets up to the outside wall and will allow Robinson and Steven Maggio to make it 3 wide to the inside. But as I was just about to say, with the situation with LeBombard, I mean, getting out of shape, and when you kind of go sideways like that, you toe a thin line, it could bring out a yellow. But if you bring it under control in the right amount of time, then it'll be the recipe for this. The caution not coming out.
Maggio.
Maggio getting sent up the racetrack.
Oh, we got hit by Andretti Robinson going into the corner, saved the car, got it pointed back in the right direction. We will stay green again. A couple of close calls and a couple of great saves from some of the drivers up here in the front of the pack. Christopher Robinson is dropping like a rock. I think there's damage on the right side of that race car. He hit the outside wall hard coming through the tri-oval.
And that's because the right front tire's going away. It's exactly what I said earlier on in the show. You run too eager at the apex, you carry so much speed, but that outside wall comes up really quickly. So you get to hit it a couple times, and then this car starts to become a lot weaker on that right front tire. And not only do you run the risk of aerodynamic damage and losing speed overall, you can break the toe link, break the suspension, and by that point, you're looking at an over 7-minute repair on pit road. So Robinson and the rest of the drivers with that, they have to be very careful.
And you already see the pace that he has significantly dropped, how much slower he is than cars going through the corners. He was just passed by Rott, Cazzola, and Maggio in one foul swoop. Bomar following suit right on through past the 12 of Christopher Robinson. Out front still AJ Hyder. That wall getting a lot of love going by just about everybody on corner entrance and corner exit. So far, what is the longest green flag run of the race? So good for AJ Hyder. He's got James Thurston in his rear view mirror, keeping him at about a car length, maybe 2, fluctuating between the 2 of those options as we roll to lap 15.
We know Thurston is really solid at these kind of racetracks and intermediates that can wear down the Goodyear Eagles. I think back to Homestead in Miami, a race in which he didn't win, but he was band for band with Gabriel Dahari, made it a promising effort inside the final 10 laps, and he knew what he could do to be aggressive and make his moves at the front. I'm not surprised to see Thurston this close to AJ Hyder, but I also wouldn't be surprised if AJ's not pushing the issue right now. He's in clean air. The car has better rotation as a result of that. And so I'd imagine he's saving a bit of his stuff in this first run now that we've gone green for the longest time tonight.
And, you know, a lot of the drivers in this series are really great at saving their stuff, kind of the poster children for such a thing. AJ Hyder, certainly one of those. I remember that Phoenix race last season that he was the dominant car in. until he got caught in the dirty air after the field flipped under a caution flag. He had a bad pit stop, lost some spots in that situation. But he's a driver that will frequently get up in the front of these fields and just drive off better than everybody else. He did that at Kentucky after being on the right side of the field flipping and was able to fight through an overtime restart to win that one, or I guess technically 3 to go was that restart, not overtime, but it certainly felt like it at the very least. And now just managing his gap back to James Thurston.
And I love the shot of this car in the onboard with Thurston because you can hear the car going through the different gears. The next gen era has brought in sequential shifters. So now at these bigger tracks, you can shift down to fourth. What that does is you get a lot more rotation on the rear tires because you have the RPMs higher. You get better acceleration off the corner. The only issue with that is because you're at the higher revs, the tires are spinning at a higher rate, and you can spin around the car. You get it very loose very easily instead of if you just stayed in 5th gear. And you see what that's doing to Thurston right now. The car is unsettled in the middle of the draft. And now that AJ Hyder is pulled away, Thurston is struggling behind the wheel.
Yeah, that's, you know, when we were on board with Ellis Wells during the open, we could see his hand leaving the steering wheel, going down the shift, and then coming back to the steering wheel. And I was going to ask you about it then before we saw a big crash in that moment. You know, shifting it, it's something that is kind of new to most ovals in the next-gen car, right? So that's something the drivers have now probably adjusted to pretty well in what is year 5 of the next-gen race car. But it's still something that when you have this, you know, higher horsepower and lower downforce aero package, it's tough to deal with as Wyatt Roberts in that Owl City car gets up on the outside of Gabe Cazola. And you know, Owl City, I remember being in middle school when their song Fireflies was super popular, and everybody was singing that. And every time I hear that song, I get flashed back to sitting, you know, baking in 80-degree heat in the outdoor lunch tables in, you know, the middle of spring, which felt like summer in San Diego. And that's what I think of when I see Owl City on the side of that race car.
You would not believe your eyes, and I'm glad I'm not the only one that immediately thought of that song because that's Owl City's marquee song. I mean, when you think of Owl City, you think of Fireflies. You don't think of any of the other music unless you are a hardcore fan. I'm sure their other songs are great, and that's what Wyatt Roberts is trying to tailor to here with this paint scheme. But yeah, what a classic. That is, from what I've seen, I imagine a cruise ship, give me a karaoke bar, and give me 3 frat guys that just want to goof around. They put that song on the karaoke machine and they just start singing it as a group. I just have the image in my head right now.
Well, Owl City's lead singer, Adam Young, apparently was the subject of Taylor Swift's song Enchanted, and he made his own version of that same song where he responded to Taylor. And it's just a rumor, but it was possibly the lead singer of Owl City could have been a part of that long list of Taylor Swift's lovers.
I remember that.
Which I always thought was interesting. I didn't know idea about that, and then my girlfriend told me about that. So shout out to Cher for letting me know that one.
You know, there is a running tag of Taylor Swift songs, who they're about, and whether they're good or bad. And I think the only good song was about Taylor Lautner. And it was Back to December. Is that the name of the song?
I think so.
Yeah, that seems to be the only, like, positive track record, because obviously there are lovers that have good songs, but they usually have bad songs too. They have songs that are about heartbreak and are about things they did wrong and how they hurt her and things. I think Taylor Lautner's the only one with one song, and it's a positive song. It's not a mourning breakup song.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus, is that's the one of T-Swizzle's exes that is kind of still looked upon nicely by the Swiftie community. But really, I think as long as you're not Jake Gyllenhaal, you're probably fine in that regard.
Well, if you're Joe Alwyn, I mean, that's a hard case. I mean, what, they're 6 years together, and it was all done.
Well, she's got Travis Kelce now, so good for her. And you know, looking through this field, Andretti Robinson, Connor Trafari, fighting their way back up after some, you know, earlier squabbles, fighting through everything, and Trafari's making pretty good headway getting up through this field, trying to cut back in. He's chasing down that 45. You see them right behind the 27 of Downey. Trafari in 7th. Robinson just ahead in 6th and a good gap back to the next driver in line.
Honestly, Nate, squabble is the right word to use for this battle because Andretti Robinson's car, Black Panther, Kendrick Lamar, I mean, one of his most famous songs is on that Black Panther album. So these two definitely squabbling up together in the fight for P6. But yeah, what a comeback. I mean, that is, of course, what you needed. I think Cody Rivera's was also looking for something like this. They needed a long green flag run. They had the chance to put on the fresh Goodyear Eagles. And, of course, they fixed their race car. And because the caution laps don't count, they don't fall a lap down as a result. And so Trafari's been really patient. And although this is a 76-lap race, and it is relatively longer than the Open, it's still relatively short in comparison to the average race distance we have in the SAAC Cup Series and across iRacing leagues with this car. So you still have to make it a mad dash to the front. And you got to give credit to the way Connor Trafari has kept a patient eye. He's played the aggressive moments when he needs to, like here under Andretti Robinson, and it's just making it work.
Part of that's knowing the car that you have under you and knowing how good of a driver that you are. Is now we see a nice battle between Amir Bascom, Austin Duran, and Chris Downey right behind all of them. This has been going on for a couple laps right in front of the battle that we've been watching behind them. Amir Bascom doing a good job keeping these two in his mirror. And Austin Duran in a tough situation. He's got to defend the 27, but he's also got to attack the 21. Wiggles a little bit. Now he's really going to be under threat. Downey throws it down the inside as they head to turn number 3. That's the preferred lane. He's right on the yellow line, and Duran almost gives up the spot. Going to try the crossover on the exit. Not quite going to be there. He's right up to the rear of the 27. He might try to attack the bottom, but Downey's really going to be aggressive to block that lane. Duran's going to have to back off and try to find another way by.
And Duran's on the loose side of things. You saw him a bit sideways as Amir was getting around. A bit out of shape as soon as Chris Downey was planning his attack on the move. I mean, he's been a little out of shape. That rear end of the race car has been slipping up more, especially here at the exit of turns 3 and 4. So Duran's car not exactly as planted as these others have been, but it's back to the topic of conversation I brought out before we went green, saving your stuff. We've gone green long enough now that the unlimited tire sets doesn't matter unless we have a caution flag. So if you don't have that going down and you're up at the front of the field and you want your track position, that's really the only option you have if you want to make any forward progress. Not only Bascom, but Downey have maintained their composure in that aspect, and look at how much speed they have now as a result. Nearly a full tenth faster than Austin Duran.
That's so crucial, keeping that tire under you, and it also makes me think of who might have fresher tires. I think to those guys that went and got damage repaired. If you're on pit road repairing damage, you might as well go ahead and throw 4 tires on it, especially if you have unlimited sets. So I look at the 9 of Connor Trafari. That's certainly got to be helping his case as he carves through the field.
That's a difference for Trafari of 7 laps, and 7 laps doesn't seem like much, but then you think of Nashville Super Speedway and you're like, well, it's a concrete surface, this is a tire shredder. 7 laps is more than enough. 1 lap may be more than enough on a tire difference. It's just been about how you can weave your way through traffic. That's been the biggest point of it. But now that we're 33 laps in, the tires of the front-running guys, they're reaching that cliff point where you either start to plateau in speed, like an AJ Hyder, or you start to drop off considerably, like an Austin Duran, and that's where Trafari has been taking advantage.
And there's the caution. Lap 33, just shy of the halfway point. We'd gone nearly 30 laps caution-free, and now we see that's the 25 of Shockey Tarpley with some right front damage. Looks like the suspension might be bent out of shape a little bit, weaving that car back and forth as he rolls across the apron of turns 1 and 2. We'll take a look at what happens here. LeBombard right behind him. Oh, and Tarpley gets lost in the safer barrier.
And that almost looked like the situation with Austin Duran in the open race, right? A bit of a remember of that, because Eric LeBombard has been sending it in these corners. He has a later braking zone. He's so much more comfortable taking the inside. I think Shockey perhaps a little more hesitant in that sense. He's trying to brake earlier. He doesn't think he can dive it that deep. So LeBombard takes advantage. He tries to chase the space. The car washes up, and there is nothing he could do but engage in contact. And once he does, I mean, that is a lost race car up the racetrack.
One of the consequences of a colder nighttime racetrack, and here comes everybody down the pit road. Hyder, Thurston, Bascom at the front of the group. This is going to be one of the first opportunities we've seen for drivers to have some kind of major difference in position. You don't usually think of pit road as a passing opportunity, but when the race is so dependent on clean air, it kind of can be.
And I'm really curious to see if anyone, Nate, takes 2 fresh Goodyear Eagles, especially if you're a driver like Connor Trafari or Cody Viveris. It looks like Steven Maggio has done it. I'm not surprised at all to see Steven Maggio do it, and he's going to take the lead.
You know, if there's one guy that I think is going to do it, that guy's not here, because that guy's Ethan Fonseca Moreno. This is the second option for Steven Maggio to come in and take 2 tires. He does it so often, and he's so good at saving tires. You know that 51 is going to be just as fast as it would have been on a 4-tire stop. Maybe not just as fast, but he's certainly going to have more pace on just 2 tires than a lot of the guys in this field would.
And it was a point I was going to bring up, Nate. How much do you value the tires, and how much do you value the track position? And this is not a bad call at all. You think, all right, well, if you have unlimited tire sets, why are you not going for 4? The first obvious thing is Steven Maggio is in the race lead. Now he's got clean air. He has a car that is in the top spot with a chance to try and patrol it through the rest of this race and win his first All-Star event. The second part of it is it frees up the car. Because of the track surface temperature, it's not hot. These cars are more understeery-like than they are to be counterintuitive and be oversteery and snap sideways. You have this option to put on right side fresh tires, and what that does is, because the old tires don't have as much grip at the bottom and the right sides do, it kind of turns the car further in the corners, and it kind of plants it into the turns as well. So you have that opportunity to make this car a little more free, make it a little more oversteery, and Maggio's taking that strategic opportunity that also gains in the track position. So it's a 2-sided decision, and I'm not surprised to see Maggio do it. He's done it plenty of times in this next-gen era, and as of late, in these big-time races, but especially here when car handling is very important, Maggio is wanting to use that to have the upper hand.
He's a guy that really likes to drive off the right rear of the car. He talked about that after winning in the KBRN Truck Series at Michigan on Monday night. The trucks there were very loose, driving off the right rear, won that race. He was talking about how much he liked it. Justin Rott also taking 2 tires, cutting his way up into the bottom end of row 3. Green flag gets ready to fly again from the Music City. 33 laps deep in the All-Star race, Steven Maggio finds the gas pedal and goes even with AJ Hyder as they roll off towards turn 1, and looking like they might get ready to go 3 wide further deep in the field. Here comes Amer Bascombe. He was thinking 3 wide for the lead, washes up the racetrack, has to get that car woed down. He's going to drop behind Steven Maggio, clear of AJ Hyder. Hyder darts back to the bottom, trying to get back in front, wants the clean air on the nose of that 44. Look at that slow up from Thurston in the dirty air. Ollie Reeves goes north on the racetrack. Everybody is sliding, fighting for every position. Here comes Thurston. He was thinking 3 wide, drop to the apron. He'll instead push AJ Hyder to the inside of turn 1. This battle for the lead raging on. Maggio way up the racetrack. Hyder should be able to slide up in front of him. No biggie. AJ Hyder back out front in the Music City.
It looked at first, Nate, that AJ and company on the outside had a sluggish restart, and the wheel spin was catching up to this 44 machine, but he did a fantastic job locking back in, setting his pace, making sure he can attack the inside of Maggio. And by the way, nice bump from James Thurston to get him out in front.
Maggio got a nice bump into the outside wall going through the trial. But these next-gen cars can take a beating, but it's one wrong hit can really turn your race upside down as you see everybody go up and smack the safer barrier on the exit of 2 like we've seen much of this night. Next side-by-side battle, James Bomar working to the inside of Ollie Reeves. Now Justin Rott gets to the inside of Amer Bascombe. Bascombe has not been committed really to the bottom lane of the racetrack, whether or not it's the car's not sticking or the fact that he's just trying to make some pace up there. He's been stuck up there quite a few times, and now we see Ollie Reeves starting to slide back through the field. He was just fighting Bomar. He's now lost 4 spots from that point.
And it's a hard place to be in when you're that outside car in the middle of 3 and 4, and you'll see why. When they come into the corner, there's a big bump at the apex. They're going to strike it right as they're getting on the gas pedal. Right there, there's a big bump, and so you can get really out of shape, and that car, when it's up the hill, it's going to further chase up to the outside wall, and a big drop off there for Ollie Reeves as he hit the wall.
Another caution on the speedway. Gabe Cazola perpendicular on the front stretch. Had some damage on the right front. Second time he's been involved in an incident today. Saved it with minimal damage last time. Not so lucky this time. He's on the bottom of 3 and 4. Comes up the racetrack. Oh, there it is. A little sandwich between Cazzola and the wall for Austin Duran, and Cazzola gets the worst of it.
Back to what I mentioned, how quickly that wall can come up, and Duran's already high enough where he hits that bump, and he is carrying that speed. He is committed to the exit of the corner. It's just not enough to get out of the wall, and we've seen that so many times. You hit the wall, your first instinct is to turn left. You want to get out of it so you don't scrub off more speed, and as a result, Gabe Cazzola is the victim in this circumstance.
The fan vote winner, and the fans unhappy to see something like this. This is the onboard on top of Gabe Cazzola's car. And, you know, not a spot where there's a whole lot anyone can do. I mean, you know, you mentioned Duran could, you know, back out of the corner, but you're committed at that point. If you step out of the gas, he's probably still going to shake down the track, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I mean, that is close racing at best, but when you have a wall hit like that, the space between the two cars, even if it's minimal, it's going to go away, and eventually there's going to be contact. Drivers sometimes can get really lucky with that, but Gabe Cazzola not lucky at all. James Thurston just nearly went into the grass trying to fake out his entry to pit road, and Steven Maggio says, all right, that's enough, and he takes his chance to get 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles.
Yeah, it did not work the way he thought it was going to. Thurston was really late on the fake out to pit road. It looks like just about everybody stays out, so the gamble doesn't quite work from Steven Maggio. He'll come back to being toward the middle of the field as we get past the halfway point of this event. This is that replay. Maggio committed fully to pit road. Everyone else on the fake out. Bascom jumped out pretty quickly, but that was really, really late from James Thurston. He did mow the lawn just a little bit. Some fresh clippings on the tires like a pair of Air Monarchs.
Is that a 1X incident point for James Thurston? I'm sure he doesn't care. But is it?
Might be. You know, it's possible. You know, but you know, no points in this race, so really all you care about is going for the win. You don't really care about the X's. You can get 20 of them. As long as you're in victory lane, you still get $50.
That's true. I know some driver who got a bunch of incident points at Watkins Glen in the 4-wide racing playoffs, and that did hurt him. It was Justin Rott. And although that has nothing to do with this race tonight, I wanted a chance to talk to him and talk about him because we talked about Connor Trafari, the way he picked up his way through the field. And Justin Rott has done the exact same thing. Early race damage, was involved in that big crash on the opening lap. And just like the 9 car, this Memphis Grizzlies Chevrolet has worked his way forward little by little. Had a fantastic restart before this most recent caution came out. And now, most importantly, he's running behind the control car in the restart zone. So has a chance to move up to second for the first time tonight.
One of those 2 tire takers on the Steven Maggio strategy, but did not come back down pit road. So that 76 is right up here in a really, really nice position. And, you know, we talked about designers earlier on during the open. Right there on the quarter panel, you see the ADG logo, the Austin Duran graphics that put together that nice looking 76, and that's the 07 sometimes on a Wednesday night as well.
And it's a great looking race car, and Austin did a great job with that to capture the essence of the Memphis Grizzlies design. And honestly, you can go back to the Vancouver Grizzlies, one of the best looking design teams in the NBA, if I'm being quite honest. And it's a great looking car.
I do miss that Vancouver logo.
Yeah. Those colors were really nice as well.
Love a pop of some funkier colors on any sports team or on any race car, but it's a traditional red and blue that's out front and been out front the entire night at Nashville Super Speedway. AJ Hyder, and it's another traditional black and white that's been up there with him. James Thurston on the outside of him. Hyder mashes the gas, finds the front stretch, and we are green to go again in Nashville. Rott did not get the best start right behind the 44. Thurston's able to cover his bases, fall to the bottom of the racetrack, clear the 76. It's a 1-2-3 just as it's been. Hyder, Thurston, Bascom.
Powerful 1-2 punch from those on the outside. Justin just couldn't anticipate what AJ Hyder was going to do in the restart zone. So not only Thurston gets around, but Amir Bascom steps out in front, uses the middle lane to pinch Justin Rott on the inside of the racetrack. And behind them, James Bomar and Connor Trafari engaging in their own side-by-side battle to turn 1.
Officially past halfway, Bomar and Trafari, two guys that have had to fight to get back into this race, chasing after another guy, Justin Rott, who had to fight to get back into this race. They're side-by-side, fighting with one another, and it's a 3-wide melee. Further back toward the end of the top 10, Steven Maggio has 4 fresh tires in a fast race car and is in a 4-wide situation coming out of the corner, chasing down Chris Downey and Eric LeBombard. It's a mess in the rear of this field, and there goes Christopher Robinson. He got hit by Quincy Strawhacker, and the caution's going to fly again. It was about 4 wide. It was a mess, and that's about as, as little messy as it could have been.
And a pretty lazy slide from Robinson. Watch this move, though, Nate, out of turn 4. I mean, they're 3-4 wide already. Steven Maggio's in the middle of it, and this purple car is going to see 4 wide very soon, because look at Cody Riveras diving to the bottom. And just a merge of real estate. You think you have space. There is no space. A fantastic save by Robinson to keep that car under control, but iRacing Race Control says that's a yellow flag no matter how you cut it.
And that had a chance to be really big, because I was thinking that almost looked pretty similar to what we saw Monday night in the KBRN Truck Series, with a few cars all, close together on the front stretch. One gets turned and gets turned down into another car that shoots straight to the outside wall. And did not see that this time. Just past halfway from Nashville, we're going to go side by side as we roll under this caution.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
These Pop-Tarts are tasty.
Maybe Pop-Tarts do belong on the tailgate table.
Pop-Tarts, a lineup you can eat. There's only one fuel that can drive the performance you demand from your car. New 94 Octane, the highest octane on the market. Only at Sunoco.
36 laps to go in the SAAC All-Star Race. AJ Hyder has been out front for most of the first 40, leading this field all around Nashville Super Speedway. He's going to stay out front for this next restart. Justin Rott chose the outside, climbs all the way to the front row, but that outside has not really been fruitful for a lot of these drivers. It looks like James Thurston pulled it down pit road while we were side by side, and he's going to be pretty far back in the field, but he's been up front quite a lot of this race. These unlimited tire sets, we're starting to see those strategies. We see so many cautions here, Kenneth.
We are, and a lot of it has come from the aggression in the back of the field. Steven Maggio was one on Fresh Goodyear Eagle, so he was chomping his way through the group, and others who were just bystanders in the mix. That most recent caution was just a product of 4 wide and a lack of awareness of a car on the inside because of how wide the track became at the exit of 4. And I'm really curious to see what AJ Hyder is able to do, because he's been saving fuel. He's been clutching and coasting I'm not sure whether it is close enough for him to be running out of fuel for the scheduled distance, but he's been taking the gamble.
Coming to the restart zone, first time we've seen Rott on the front row in this race. He does not get going, and the outside stacks up big time. Rivera takes evasive action to the top of the racetrack before they saw the stripe. Hyder gets out in front to the lead. Bascombe dives up in front of the 76 of Rott. Look at Rivera all the way to the top of the track, going through turns 1 and 2, trying to keep that momentum up. Meanwhile, Rott and Trafari in a scrap, heading off towards turn 3 for position 3.
And just weaving down the back straightaway, Trafari and Rott trying to make sure they can side draft each other, and we're side by side a few rows back. Trafari splitting the difference, and James Bomar to the inside. What a move.
He shot up to get in front of the 20, and Bomar said, all right, I'll take that spot to the inside. Drives down there, but can't stick it on the yellow line, so Trafari's going to get the roll off the top of the corner and clear out 1, 2, 3, 4 ahead of a double file battle between Andretti Robinson and James Bomar. But it looks like Robinson is going to be able to get that spot clear the 20, or maybe not. Bomar with a really nice exit, and now finally cleared by Robinson.
And by the way, you've got the fresh tire cars that are catching up now in a difference of about 5 laps. That's Cody Rivera. You see why he's making the diving moves, Nate, is because he has the fresher tires. Him and Steven Maggio have been working their way slowly but surely. So with the 32-lap run, crossing the line next time by, they've got a lot of time to work with.
Plenty of time. These guys on new tires, and right behind them, James Thurston came down pit road this last time. He's also got some pretty fresh tires to cut through the field, and if we get this race to go to the end, we might just see the difference.
We saw how much it was a difference in the All-Star Open with Austin Doran. I mean, the way he was able to move his way to the front of the field was because of that one pit stop he made, took the tire set early, and then just slowly in the long green flag pace found his way up as everyone fell off. I'd imagine for Riveras and Steven Maggio, they feel like the same is in the cards for them. Only problem is, Nate, they're side by side for 8th place in turn 1.
Yeah, battling is not going to keep those tires nice and good with one another. Looks like Maggio is going to get the better of Riveras. The racetrack trying to set sail further up through the field as we go just about single file all the way through. And out front, it's AJ Hyder, like it's been much of this race. As I say that, Steven Maggio dives to the inside of Ollie Reeves, trying to get an extra spot right to the inside. I mean, you just see the pace that those fresh tires give you. It's only a 5-lap difference, but the exit that it gave him was enough to just blow the doors off of Reeves on the front stretch.
But it also comes down, Nate, to the way you use them behind the wheel. We've seen a lot of drivers that have fresh tires, they push the car to the limit, and then by the time they're 5 to 10 laps into the run, whatever advantage they had is equalized with everyone else in the field. And I like what Maggio is doing here. He's patiently looking for the moments that he can pounce on the drivers in front of him, because if he is constantly pushing for the fast lap time and pushing to be the fastest car on the racetrack, he's going to rush himself into a wall. And eventually, it's going to bring himself a level with everyone on the older tire set, and Maggio's advantage is going to wash away very quickly. So you have to balance that act of where can I gain the track position when I need it, and of course, how balanced can I be saving the tires. If a long green flag run comes in and no one else can visit pit road, that means I will have the best car in the field.
Maggio always been one of the best at saving tires, and to double up on that, one of the best at driving through the field while saving tires. There's been countless times I've been thinking that he's just beating those things up, and he's able to drive through the field, get out front, and stay there. James Thurston also on pretty fresh tires gets up by Cody Riveras and going to settle in. He'll look to pass Ollie Reeves here in the coming laps as well. Might see those two Toyotas, the 82 and 51, come up and have a say in the end of this race. Maggio back to work on Bomar further up your screen. Everybody chasing down the leader, AJ Hyder, and Justin Rott's one of them. He took 2 tires earlier in this race. He was on that same strategy that Steven Maggio was on at that time, and it's worked out well for him. He's kept the track position. Right behind him, Connor Trafari also got slightly newer tires and working his way up through the field.
Yeah, Justin had that perfectly timed yellow. He could get 4 fresh tires with everyone else in the field, so he's leveled with everyone around him. And when you have track position already in your favor, it's a lot harder to lose it here at Nashville Super Speedway, because this track is more one-laned than a lot of other venues that we visit through the SAAC Cup Series season. So Justin, that's a prime example of right place, right time for the 76 to be in the top 3.
And he's making use of it. And he's a guy that has the pace to make use of it. He's been up toward the top of the standings this season. We saw last season he had a couple of opportunities, I think namely Phoenix, where he was top 5 most of the night, threw it all in for what it was worth at the very end, and came up on the wrong end of it with a wrecked race car trying to go for the race win. But he's a guy that's had these opportunities, and now he's being chased down by Connor Tafari, who of course is still hungry for that first win of the season. A win tonight wouldn't pay points-wise. You wouldn't get to count it and say it was officially his first win of the season, but you get a little bit of money, and you know, it all works out pretty nicely.
I want to tell the story, Nate, on that point of last season's All-Star race, because Gabriel Dahari won that. He was $50 richer. You know what he ended up doing? He went to the final, had a chance at the championship in the SAAC 6 at Auto Club Speedway. So an All-Star race, yes, it's not points paying, but it does give you momentum. You have technically a win under your belt, and you can hold your head high on that fact, even if it's not one that locks you into the playoffs in most of the series, or in this series, gets you enough points to be an eliminator chase contender. It really does help, though, when you're able to win any kind of race in the competition that SAAC offers. And Connor Tafari's desperately looking for 3rd place right now to try and get himself a bit closer to a win.
Driving right to the inside of Justin Rott. Finally going to get clear of him on the exit. Move Tafari into the 3rd spot. But to continue your point there, Kenneth, it is the All-Star race. These are the All-Stars of the SAAC Cup Series, so it shouldn't come as a shock that we often see drivers that compete at the front of this field compete at the front of the field all season long for a championship, especially given that it's on an intermediate racetrack like we're going to see dominate the schedule further on and really be part of a title fight. Cody Riveras is slipping through the field. He's now getting passed by Quincy Strawhacker, who could not get by Ollie Reeves like a lot of those guys on fresher tires were able to. He's struggling right here. Might have burned up those tires a little fast.
And as this track has rubbered in, that inside line has grown darker throughout the course of the race, and because of that, it kind of slickens up, it overheats, and you don't get as much grip as you would like when you're exiting the bottom of the racetrack. Chris Downey just making it casually 3 wide before we get back to turn 1, but Strawhacker is doing a good job of maintaining the middle, so he pinches Riveras down. It doesn't allow Riveras to get in the throttle as soon as he would like to, and although he clears now, that took him 4 to 5 laps to complete that pass, and already that has wasted whatever Riveras had in the advantage of Fresh Goodyear Eagles, and now Downey may take a pounce as well.
Just set up the racetrack big time right there, and as close as the 49 and 36 guy going through 1 and 2. It reminded me of what we saw the last time the caution flew in the 49 and 36. We're together with the 12 as well, Christopher Robinson. Now Riveras on a bit of his own island, fended off the 49 and 27. Going to try to set his sights back on the 31 of Ollie Reeves. Meanwhile, Strawhacker and Downey continue to scrap, and behind them it's 2 guys that got a little close for comfort in the open, Austin Duran and Eric LeBombard, who, all things considered, both ended up qualifying, so a good day in the open. And as Duran slams the wall on exit, it gives LeBombard the opportunity to pounce up to the outside. Duran going to try to use that preferred lane, bottom of the racetrack, to get the defense on the 58.
Those are the 3 All-Star qualifiers running in single file line in 12th, 13th, and 14th. So all of them are here just as a conglomerate together in that conjointed goal that they were able to make it through the open earlier on tonight. The speed just hasn't been there in the nighttime conditions, and it makes a big difference when the track temp is over 120 versus when it is as cold as it is right now. And LeBombard and Austin Duran, how quick they were in the open, not reflected here tonight, and the yellows haven't necessarily helped them either.
And they mentioned the practice aspect of being able to run the open, which was half the distance of this main race. But you mentioned it, completely different track conditions. It's a night race, it's cold. I don't want to say cold because the track temp's still in, 86 degrees. Isn't really cold for most situations, but significantly cooler than what we saw in the sunlight during the open. We take a look at James Bomar. He was passed by Steven Maggio. Maggio working to cut his way through the field. Amir Bascombe running in second to AJ Hyder. Behind him, Gabe Cazzola put a lap down, falling through the field. I think he might still be dealing with some of that damage from his most recent incident. Didn't get that quick caution to come back down pit road and get more repairs. I feel like this happens pretty frequently, Kenneth. So much stuff is going on through the rest of the field that we don't get a chance to spotlight the guy that's stinking up the show, dominating the race out in front. AJ Hyder has been nice and quiet, consistently in the lead, not really had anyone challenge him, but for these restarts.
This is what you call, up until now, Nate, a full-on clinic from AJ Hyder.
Yeah.
And that is the type of race he enjoys. He loves being out in front at these disciplined racetracks where you have to be consistent, where you have to be fast in a long run. AJ Hyder's got the whole package. He made it to the championship finale at Auto Club Speedway, and he very well could have won that race. He gave himself the best shot possible. And that was because of his composure and because of his outright discipline in moments like these. And although it's an all-star race, it's still reflective. It's still a race that he's putting up against some of the best in this campaign. And I honestly wouldn't be shocked if we saw AJ Hyder win more races in the midseason Madness Bracket Tournament and go down the line with another run deep in the Eliminator Chase point standings. And he's done such a fantastic effort at remaining up at the front. Plenty of times where a lot of other drivers may have flinched and given up the race lead, but AJ Hyder has done none such thing, and he's maintained his spot.
And it really feels like he's taken a step up in this season. You know, last year, of course, a title contender, but I always felt like last season's championship contenders were almost split into sort of two tiers, and Hyder was more at the top of the second tier. He's firmly in the first tier of title fighters.
He's got some contenders behind him, though, no doubt about it, with Connor Trafari, defending champ. Amir Bascombe has really turned things on as of late. He won the Bristol race last season. It wasn't like Bascombe had a torrid year to forget. Amir Bascombe was in the contention for the Eliminator Chase, hanging around the cut line a majority of the regular season. And we saw him at Pocono, how well he did just out of raw pace in that event. Finished the top 3. He was super happy about that after what had been a rocky start to Season 5. And if it's not a race victory, it's a second place and a very strong run for Amir Bascombe. You can never really quite count him out as he's gotten better over these last few months.
You mentioned earlier the build-up of momentum. This will do that for you. A second place in this kind of race, yeah, you don't get the $50, but you come in here to an intermediate racetrack, you're pretty close to AJ Hyder, you're ahead of Connor Trafari, and you were fighting with James Thurston early in the race. That's a pretty good trio to be fighting with as far as this race is concerned. So a really good shout today for the driver of the 21, Bascombe. Ollie Reeves working to the inside of James Bomar, these two battling toward the back half of the top 10. Bomar blinks there for a moment and still not returned his connection back to the racetrack. So Reeves takes that spot. Riveras as well. But on there, Bomar might have just disconnected from the race there. He still hasn't blinked back into action.
I think, yeah, he might have suffered packet loss. That's what it's called here on iRacing. And he has not come back. And he most likely is going to fall multiple laps down. Yeah. James Bomar, I think, is out of this race. I don't know whether that was from an Alt F4 or whether it was just a connection going out by itself. That is such heartbreaking news for James Bomar. I mean, it's a non-points paying race, so he'll be fine. But Nate, I mean, he was running inside the top 10. Very good run. And I think Austin Dawn may have had the same problem. He's also out on connection.
Second week in a row, we've seen some kind of, computers only kind of situation. A couple drivers disconnecting late in this race. And of course, last week we saw the bumper glitch with Stephen Maggio at the very end of that one that ended Maggio's chance at a win and ended the chance at a win for a lot of drivers last week at Talladega. A reminder, this is for all intents and purposes, maybe cover your ears, a video game, right? This is for all intents and purposes, you are playing online. This is not a real tangible race. So these things can happen when you're racing in the online realm.
Well, think of it like this, Nate. If in real life you can have an engine blow up at any given point, you can have brakes go out, you can have a tire that runs randomly flat, you can have a bunch of mechanical issues that could alter your race or end your race in a matter of a split second. That's the iRacing version of that, because you're not going to have the engine blow up because all the cars are the same and the teams don't have the engines to blow them up because iRacing gives you the same car. You can't really run a tire flat unless you really run it to its very extent, but it is never going to just randomly blow up. And all the mechanical issues that happen in real life would not really happen in iRacing. So that's the replacement for that, is a screen going blank, the internet going out, hardware disconnecting. Those are the gremlins that we face in iRacing that's unique to the sim, but is sort of like the story of mechanical problems for drivers in real life in the NASCAR Cup Series.
We see a couple of drivers as the ticker continues to click by that have gone out of this race. Most recently, Duran and Bomar, they're in 15th and 16th. But also Chris Downey, Gabe Cazola, Christopher Robinson, and the first one of them out was Jonathan Juergensmeyer. Has become now 5 laps to go. AJ Hyder still commanding this race. He's dominated, even through the slew of cautions that we saw. And really, that's the last thing that he'd want to see in a situation like this, where it's been so great for that 44 car all race long. 5 to go. He just wants to get to the white flag nice and clean.
He does, because you want to know why? Not only is there overtime, we have unlimited attempts to finish this race under green.
Oh.
So it's not the typical 3 attempts, and once it's done, you end the race at a given time. You can go through the entire night without having a single overtime attempt go green until the end. AJ Hyder's hoping that he gets to that white flag as soon as possible, but these few laps, Nate, are going to feel like a lifetime, even though he is the fastest car in the group by far.
And is this a bad time to mention? Remember when we were getting ready to take this most recent green flag on the most recent restart? AJ Hyder was clutching the car, trying to save a little bit extra fuel. Not sure if that was just to handle some extra pace laps, with caution laps not counting toward the lap total and not counting toward the math that you would have. Or could he have actually been in some danger of running out of fuel? Now, he's running at full pace now. I'm assuming that it was just precautionary when he was doing that. But at 2 laps to go, he's hoping that he's got everything to hang on for one more circuit and see that white banner fall upon the racetrack.
It's a chase to be more safe. In a sense, you'd rather be safe than sorry. That's the prime statement of it all for AJ Hyder. So that's really just the case. He was saving fuel to compensate, maybe have some more life in the tank if there were overtime attempts. But he's currently out of turn 4, looking for the white flag in the All-Star race.
Just wants to see it. Wants to see Barney the flag man drop it on the track. There it is. White flag is out. 1 lap to go, and he's struggling with the lap car of Shockey Tarpley, who's got damage. That's not going to help out the 44 of Hyder, but he has got plenty of space back to Tarpley's teammate, Amir Bascombe. It's been a dominant performance. King of the concrete, you might call him. And he's getting hit by Tarpley, going through 3 and 4. Oh, he's sideways, he gets turned! Tarpley takes out Hyder, and what a turn of events! Amir Bascombe is going to come through and win the $50 in the All-Star race.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my goodness!
What has happened?
Taken out by a lap car, I don't believe it. It was cruise control, Kenneth.
I cannot believe that. I just can't believe what we just saw. Shockey Tarpley was falling a lap down, dealing the chrome horn. I think he's going to get a real talking from the admins after this one. But he just sent it in the corner. No remorse on AJ Hyder. And in the half lap, AJ Hyder's race to win the All-Star Fair is done.
I don't believe what I just saw in Trafari, Hyder's teammate, showing some displeasure to Tarpley post-race. Tarpley raced Hyder pretty hard through turns 1 and 2, defending the spot. It was his teammate Bascombe that came through to win the All-Star race. This is unbelievable.
Take a look at this again.
What we just seen here.
AJ Hyder's coming through. I mean, this should be business as usual. Most likely lap cars just get out of the way. And it's fine if Shockey Tarpley wants to be able to stay in line and make Hyder pass him. That's the idea of, hey, if you're much faster than me, just get around me and earn it. Hyder may have had contact there in turn 1, just thinking Tarpley was going to give him the bottom. There's that miscommunication. It sends Tarpley up the track. AJ Hyder completes the pass, and Shockey wants comeback, wants payback in 3 and 4. Mind you, Amir Bascombe is there. He's within half a second. And there's the first bump. It gets Hyder sideways. Unbelievable.
I I can't believe that. I mean, there's few words to describe what we just saw, and lost in the chaos. Amir Bascombe wins the All-Star race and $50. Man, oh
wow.
Man, oh man.
And everyone in the SAAC Cup Series Discord, they're saying good win AJ Hyder. And at first it seemed like they were just anticipating he was going to win the race, but now it's just a pure case of they feel bad. That was unbelievable. And our results, I don't know if they're going to get changed. I don't know what's going to happen from the admin team. But regardless, that was insane stuff at the finish.
Yeah, I mean, that's everybody saying in the general chat, good win AJ Hyder. My goodness. The unofficial results from the All-Star race in Nashville. Amir Bascombe wins. Connor Trafari, P2. Then Justin Rott down the line to Stephen Maggio with a nice comeback after the strategy didn't quite go his way. Andretti Robinson in 5th. Thurston in 6th. Cody Riveris, Ollie Reeves, Wyatt Roberts, and Larry Miles, your top 10.
Back in 11th, you'll find Shockey Tarpley involved in the chaos there. We're going to officially get word from Cody Riveris and the league admins on what the actual decision is for the end of this race. Eric LeBombard is 12th, the final car on the lead lap. AJ Hyder, in our unofficial results, is 1 lap down in 13th. He was the leader in the final half lap of the race and ends up being taken out by Tarpley on the white flag lap. Quincy Strawhacker, 14th. Austin Duran, 9 laps down. And James Bomar, 11 laps down. Both of those cars had internet connection problems that took him out of the contention late in the going. Chris Downey, 17th. Gabe Cazzola, the fan vote winner, in 18th. Christopher Robinson in 19th. And Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, the rest of the top 20. We are getting word that AJ Hyder is the race winner, Nate. So,
yeah,
in all of that, they're going to give AJ Hyder the dub here from Nashville.
Yeah, as we get AJ Hyder, I guess congratulations, winner from Nashville, but one of the more bizarre things I've ever seen, what was your perspective on that last lap?
I'm not, I really don't know. I'm going to be honest. The video speaks for itself. Yeah, I'm so surprised as you guys are probably. Just, I don't really know what was that.
You know, all in all, you dominated this race despite, you know, a lot of cautions early on in the goings of it. We talked about how it kind of gets you out of your rhythm. What was it like kind of to go from restart to restart to restart there in those couple of rashes of cautions we had?
Yeah, it was all about maintaining the lead right there. I knew just with the way the tire was falling off, there wasn't really a lot of fall off anyway. So I knew with that, maintaining the lead was key. And when I think Steven took right sides during one of those stops, I knew I had to get by him as soon as I can, because if I didn't, those tires would even out and it'd be really difficult to get by him again. So yeah, luckily we were able to do that, and a couple restarts later we were able to hit our marks, and it was all about that last run, just not making any mistakes, not overheating the right front at all. Yeah, just running clean, consistent laps. That's what we were able to do, and came up with some money. How about that?
There you go, $50 richer, and you can't say Pepsi Zero Sugar. What are you spending the money on?
I don't know. That's probably going in the savings account, I'd have to say. Yeah.
Always good to be wise with the money. Well, AJ, congratulations. Before we let you bounce on out of here and celebrate, is there anyone that you wanted to thank tonight?
Yeah, I just want to shout out the DuPont, or not the DuPont, the Pepsi Zero Sugar machine. Got a win in the All-Star race. Also want to shout out Connor Jafari for picking up the 3rd place finish. Knew he was starting at the back there and had to work his way up there, but glad he got a decent result, even though it's not really a points race. But yeah, other than that, happy to get this one, and hopefully we get a points win next week.
Congratulations, AJ, and good luck down the line.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
AJ Hyder ruled the winner of the All-Star race at Nashville Superspeedway after one of the crazier last laps that we've ever seen, and now Kenneth is caught up with Amir Bascombe.
Dude. Hey. Hello, guys.
Here with Amir Bascombe. Amir, what did you see there on that white flag lap? You think you're the winner, you get by the crashing AJ Hyder, they rule AJ the winner. It's still a strong race, but what did you see there in 3 and 4 on that last lap?
I don't know. Because I had to, with the auto fuel and, you know, no caution laps, I was the last caution, I was 4 to the good, so I had to save 4 laps this entire run, and I was never able to push to get up to AJ. And then I see, Malachi's my teammate. I don't think Malachi. I didn't think he was stupid, and I was like, damn, Malachi, give him dirty air, or whatever. Let me see if I can catch him with the 1 to go. And he just wrecks him. I'm like, oh my god, that I did not tell you. Like, I have nothing to do with that. That is a completely you and him over some New Hampshire beef or something. I don't know, but I don't know. It was crazy. Yeah, I felt like maybe if I didn't have to save 4 laps of fuel, I could have maybe had a shot to go get him. But I was just off throttle so much. I just had to save so much. And I'm surprised I even held P2 right there. I did have a lot of speed, so yeah, it was crazy. It was insane.
Well, let's take our minds off of what happened there on that last lap, and let's talk a little bit more about this overarching theme. A lot of talk that the All-Star race is just a fun race. It doesn't mean much in terms of momentum, but for you, counting this race, the last 3 have been all top 5s. Your best finish of the season, 3rd at Pocono, top 5 at Adelaide, and then of course you had Talladega Superspeedway. But regardless, you continue to run well at the front. So how momentous is this 2nd place finish, regardless of all the drama at the end there?
It's huge. Bristol is next week. That's my best track. Won it last season. Going back into it with Lucky Charms again. Hopefully going back to back. So, it's really big because I really want to go into Bristol and win. I want to win Bristol again. I've always been good there. SAAC, I don't think I finished out of the top 2. So, I think the first Cereal Bowl we had at Bristol, I finished 2nd to Steven, and then I won the next one. So I'm just hoping we can carry that momentum plus the momentum we've had past few weeks into Bristol and get some green flag runs, man. I want some green runs.
Well, Amir, it was a long green flag run until the end. You finished 2nd here in this All-Star race for Season 5. Before we let you bounce, anybody you want to give a shout-out to or thank for the performance?
Zenith. Those Zenith boys, Calaveras boys in VC with them again. The Chromacopia album with the music car. Personal favorite album that I loved last year. 2024. And yeah, shout out to the Zenith boys. We always work good. I don't know what's up with Malachi right now, but yeah, always shout out to the Zenith boys.
Well, Amir, big shout out to you. 2nd place here in the All-Star race. We appreciate the time. Congratulations on the finish, and we'll see you in the field when the Mid-Season Madness tournament begins next week at Bristol.
Yeah, I'll see you guys in, man. Thank you.
That's Amir Bascom finishing runner-up. The whirlwind of emotions, Nate, when your teammate is the one that commits the act. You think you've won the All-Star race, and then the ruling is that you finish in 2nd. It's still a great result, but I'd imagine just a confusing few moments for Amir Bascom as we join Connor Trafari from 3rd.
Connor Trafari, 3rd place finisher tonight. Congrats on a great run. I guess we'll start with it because it's been the theme of pretty much any interview we've done. You had a front row seat to one of the crazier finishes we've seen. What did you see there?
Yeah, I had a feeling something would happen. For whatever reason, Shockey has some kind of beef with AJ. I don't really know what it came from, but I saw him try to block him down to 1, and then he let him buy out 2, and then tucked him behind him going to 3. So I kind of had a feeling something would happen there. But yeah, definitely one of the more crazy finishes. But glad to see AJ still got the win out of that.
And back to your race in particular, we talked to you before the race. You started at the rear of the field, and then you got involved in a crash, had a lot of damage. What was it like to fight through this field tonight, get back up to P3? I know it was tough to pass.
Oh yeah, it was definitely tough to pass. I mean, the wreck didn't help at all. I got really lucky with the cautions coming back to back to back. I had 4 minutes of damage, and I was down like 100 RPM. I was able to get all fixed, luckily, and start to work through the field. But yeah, it was really tough because you could really send it under a guy, but if they got the good exit, you were kind of screwed on the straightaway, and you'd be stuck in kind of like a 50-50 there. Like I was stuck with Justin Rott Andretti for a while, where I would get to the inside and I could really send it in, but they would get the runs on the exits, and I would just be kind of stuck fighting them. But yeah, it was really hard. But once you get clear of a guy, you can really kind of make some speed.
And then got Mid-Season Madness right around the corner, that bracket in the middle of the season. Next 4 races that take us into the Eliminator Chase. What's your headspace going in there?
Well, I think I'm the back-to-back reigning Mid-Season Madness champion somehow. my facts might be wrong on that, but I feel like I am. So hopefully I got to defend my title there. Some tracks I'm maybe not the best at, but hopefully I can make it through just being my guys I got beat. But I think overall I'm just really focused on trying to get the regular season title, just build up all the points I can get, just stay consistent, maybe grab a win or two if I can. That'd be really nice heading into the playoffs. But really just try to keep the momentum going.
And before we let you go, Connor, anyone that you wanted to thank for this race tonight?
Oh, of course. I want to give a huge shout out to AJ Heyer, my teammate. Absolutely dominated the race from what I could see. Huge shout out to Cody for putting on the league, putting on all the payouts, all that, so we can do all these fun things like an all-star race. Big shout out to my parents for watching. They watch every single race and always cheer me on. Big shout out to Lot 9 Brewing, sponsored my car, had them on for basically the whole season. And finally, a big shout out to y'all for putting on the broadcast, of course.
Thank you, Connor, and congratulations on a nice top 3 finish tonight in the All-Star race.
Appreciate it. See y'all.
Connor Trafari, another very good finish for the driver of the 9, who is points leader, been up there much of this season, and he's going to look to continue that as we head to the mid-season madness bracket next week at Bristol, Kenneth.
Yeah, it is going to be fun. Amir Bascom is looking forward to that race. We're looking forward to that race, and back to the idea of themed races, it's called the Cereal Bowl for a reason at Bristol. It's going to be the Cereal Bowl themed race, so everyone's going to be in their favorite cereal on the racetrack, and it's going to be great to kick off a stretch of races that in a mid-season madness bracket tournament where it's a one and you're done, it's going to be really difficult starting with a short track and then a road course right after.
Yeah, it's such an interesting dichotomy of racetracks. Bristol, Coda, Charlotte, and Phoenix. You really get just a taste of everything. Then it's time to get dirty. They'll go to Bristol again, this time on the mud, to end off the regular season with a little celebration. Another one of those non-points races before we get to the nice stress crunch of the Eliminator Chase. That's the goal for everybody, to go and win a championship. The goal tonight was $50 and a checkered flag in victory lane. We thought it was Hyder, then we thought it was Bascom. It ended up being Hyder after a wild last lap and post-race turn of events. He's $50 richer winning the SAAC All-Star race at Nashville Superspeedway. This Sunday, Dropping the Hammer is off for Easter, so we'll catch you there next weekend. Monday night, we're back. Darlington, the regular season finale of the KBRN Truck Series. Wednesday night, 4 Wide opens the round of 10 at Kansas Speedway. And in a week's time, we'll be right back here for the Cereal Bowl, Bristol, to open up mid-season madness. For Kenneth Bueno and the rest of the KBRN team, I'm Nate Polite. Thanks for joining us tonight.